I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Alderman Osteen. Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Morose.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Barella.
Here.
Mayor Harmonson.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum. We have no unfinished business, no new business. The only thing we do is a discussion tonight with the general fund, capital expenditures, presentations, and rankings. Enterprise funds, capital expenditures, presentations, and rankings. And our budget meeting. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Devin Lake, our city administrator. She's going to be running the meeting for the most part, so feel free to ask her questions at will. And then if you do need a break, let me know, and we can certainly take a break to go to the restroom or whatever. So Devin Lake, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. So as I understand it, this is going to go a little differently than what has been done in the past. So first of all, I want to, the presentation is on the laptop in front of you. You can follow along. The first fund that will be looked at is general fund. You have 4 sheets of paper you will be wanting to pay attention to the green paper first with the green lines. That's the general fund capital expenditure requests that have been submitted. So each department head will get up and discuss their items. They're in order on the sheet as they are in the budget book. So the plan is that they will do their presentation, and then you guys have 2 copies of that sheet. Feel free to make notes on one of them as you would like. And then at the end of the presentation, you will rank those items in order of priority to you. And then you will turn those rankings in to me, and I will put them in a spreadsheet and average them. And then I will display those rankings on the screen whenever I get them compiled. We have a 15-minute break scheduled between general fund and enterprise fund. And we're going to do general fund first because it's shorter and easier. And then the second sheet is a little longer and has about $13 million, almost $14 million worth of projects on it.
Devin,
Yes.
You said they had 4 sheets?
Yeah, they should have 2 pink and 2 greens.
Okay, they have 2
Are
of
they
the same
duplicates?
enterprise.
Yep, they're duplicates.
Okay.
One is for you to make notes on. One is for you to turn back into me.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So if we don't believe that we should invest any money in the project, in other words,
you would rank it dead last.
so that is a 0, or what does that mean?
No, so 1 is your first priority,
Okay.
and then it would go all the way down to 20 or whatever the ending
Okay.
amount is. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns about how we're, yes, Phyllis?
Excuse me, I mean, this is something different, and I applaud you for trying something new.
Sure.
But Eric, our parks manager, he's not here.
Correct.
If you look closely,
I'm
I
sorry?
am Eric.
Well, I just wonder, you know, he has priorities because that's what he works at.
Right.
And just being some clarification between us and him, I just didn't know how this was going to work.
So he is kind of dubbed Drew to be his representative. He did the PowerPoint, so he is aware of what's being presented. He just is on vacation and isn't able to be here.
I see.
Yep.
So Drew, you're it.
Yep, and
Okay.
Patience. Yeah.
I'm here as well, kind of representing Eric, but I'm here to answer any questions from the parks perspective that you all might have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So Alderman Osteen has to leave fairly quickly, so not that I want to discourage us dallying, but I would like us to move through these, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask, but we want to kind of get started if you guys are okay with that. All right, Andrew, you're up.
Okay, so first up is the Parks and Rec. They have two main capital requests, the Phoenix Park improvements that we had a discussion last session, and the city park pickleball courts.
Drew, can you click the thing? It's by the microphone.
Got it.
Excuse me, one more question if I can.
Sure.
I just realized this. So the green sheet has the first 4 or 5, whatever it is, are parks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parks, 6 items for parks.
Correct.
So those 6 items, one of them will get a 1, which I feel is the main one I want, and the one that I feel the least would get a 6. And then we'll go down to dispatched, and there's only 2 of them.
No. So this whole sheet is general fund. These are all funded out of the same pot of money. So they would all be ranked together. So whatever you feel is number 1 on this entire sheet would be ranked to number 1. And so on and so forth.
So is there going to also be one of these sheets like this that's going to deal with CIT money?
Yes, that's your pink sheet.
Some of this can be, none of these items CIT money can be used for?
I think it could be used for transportation only. Is that correct? Capital improvement tax? It can be used in any fund? Okay.
Infrastructure.
So the parks item doesn't necessarily have to come out of the capital, out of general. The parks item could come out of CIT.
Correct. You're just ranking them in what you feel as a board is a priority. So this gives me and staff direction on what is the most priority to you all and what is the least priority. And then it is our job to determine where the funds are going to come from to make those things happen.
Okay, I have a problem with it. We'll work through it.
Okay?
Sorry, did you say that 10 is good or 1 is good?
1 is good. 1 is your top priority.
And 10 is the least?
Yes.
Or however many
Or
there are?
however many there are.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So can I take on to Alderman Rucker's question?
Sure.
So for example, I'll just use salt barn roof. It looks like that's probably transportation or public works, but it's listed under general fund requests. So can I ask why that would be?
Transportation is out of general fund. It is not an enterprise fund.
It has its own dedicated revenue source. It's not been handled that way in the past, I don't believe. So that's okay, we'll just see.
It's got its own dedicated revenue.
It's a governmental fund, but it is its own separate fund.
Okay.
Yeah,
I-
sorry,
Okay.
mention that. It's just not an enterprise fund like water, sewer, ambulance, airports.
Okay, the Phoenix Park improvements and the city park pickleball courts. So the Phoenix Park improvements, we have separated this entire project out into 4 total phases. The first phase being the destination playground, second phase being the pavilion and bathroom, phase 3 being the splash pad, and phase 4 being the parking lot improvements. These phase numbers have in no way in any indication of priorities you guys are setting those. These are just how we separated them out. The phase 1 for the destination playground, potentially boat themed. The project will include the demo and removal of the current baseball field number 1. And the current playground at Phoenix Park is for younger children and does not meet the needs of the community. The renderings that you're going to see in a second, they are just possibilities. They aren't exactly exactly what can be done, but it's just an example of what could be done. The total phase cost of this phase is $571,000. On this slide is just some renderings that we had done from one particular playground equipment manufacturer. It was one that was recommended to us, but I don't think we were necessarily tied to this rendering exactly. Phase 2 is the pavilion and the bathroom. The original estimate included a pavilion with an internal bathroom. The total estimate, based on the engineering estimate from Cochrane, with the internal bathroom as part of the structure of the pavilion, was $1,040,940. Eric asked me to come up with maybe an alternative for this plan. And we kind of looked at something that he was really comfortable with was a precast bathroom that you can order out of a catalog. And we put a number to it, and the total Phase 2 cost with a just standalone pavilion and a standalone precast bathroom is $569,525. These renderings are for the pavilion and the bathroom being attached. And this is the example of what one of the precast bathrooms would look like. It's two basically any gender bathrooms with a water fountain, and then there's the access to all the plumbing and maintenance stuff in the back. What we quoted here was a CXT precast restroom. There's different colors and options. This precast bathroom would be a cheaper alternative to the what was quoted by Cochrane. I've got it, estimated at $110,000. Phase 3 is a boat-themed splash pad to match the playground, kind of being in that same sort of boat water theme. The total Phase 3 estimate is $516,450. The biggest draw to this is that it would really be an attraction to bring people to the park. Do you want to add anything to that?
The most that I would add to that statement is not only bringing folks to the park and like fulfilling that community need, but that would also be a draw for people to rent out that pavilion.
Thank you.
A quick question. What months do you think that would be open?
I would say that when we visited the other splash pads in the other communities at Sullivan and Union, I think they pretty well treated it similar to their pool, and so it was open basically Memorial Day to Labor Day, more or less.
Right. Thank you.
And on the last slide, this slide, and would be kind of a conceptual rendering of what it could look like with a boat theme. This is what I think it's Sullivan, what their Route 66 sort of splash pad looks like, and it is definitely an attraction and draws a lot of kids and families during the summer. And like I said, this one is Route 66 themed. Phase 4 would be the parking lot improvements. The project includes the demo, erosion control, asphalt parking lot, and driveway, concrete sidewalk, striping, lighting, stormwater, concrete stairs, and other just general construction needs like landscaping and seating. The existing parking lot is in usable condition, but is definitely, I would say, towards the end of its life. It's starting to get that sort of fatigue cracking that you kind of see. It looks like alligator skin. And it needs an upgrade or it needs rehabilitation. This would be rehabbing the current sidewalk or the current parking lot and adding a considerable amount of spaces to hopefully facilitate the draw of the new playground and the splash pad in the pavilion. The total Phase 4 costs is $520,740. This is a picture of what the current parking lot looks like. As you can see, the asphalt's pretty oxidated. We've filled a bunch of cracks, which is not, a good indication of lifespan. And it could be used in the future, but I think it should be with the caveat that we do need to look at upgrading this in the near future. This exhibit is what the park looks like now on the left and what the park could look like after all 4 phases were complete. The yellow is the current playground. The pink would be the new destination playground that we'd be building in phase 1. Phase 2 is, you can't really see it very well, but it would be that yellow or tan rectangle in between the pink and the blue, and then the blue is what we suspect the splash pad footprint would look like. And then the new parking lot extends, basically adds 100% more parking spots than what we have already at Phoenix. And that would include all the demo and all of the seating and grading. So that concludes everything for Phoenix Park. Do we have any questions on that?
So there was a comment in here that if we chose the precast bath restrooms, that would create additional square footage for the pavilion?
Potentially, I don't know, it would create more room for it, but the pavilion as it is estimated right now is not estimated that way.
Okay, because I was trying to understand.
It would change the price slightly, I think.
This says additional square footage use of the pavilion, so I assume the square footage for the bathrooms would now be
I mean, you
pavilion?
could certainly, the cost of the concrete pad would not be very much different versus the built pavilion or the precast pavilion. You could have, but as far as like covered, I think adding additional covered pavilion might change that estimate a little bit. I don't have a firm idea of.
That's fine. It wasn't
what
necessarily
that would
about
look
cost.
like.
It was more about concept and the fact that
So
it almost sounds like the current, and this may not, your just answer I get, you may not know, but it almost sounds like the current pavilion with how would I say, an included set of restrooms might not be sufficient. Or if it is sufficient, then why would we need additional square footage is what I'm trying to ask, and I don't know that you would know that answer.
I think the general idea is just try to maximize the use of the square space in total. So if you look at the exhibit, the back on the top photo, the back third would be what the bathroom is.
Right.
If you weren't using that for the bathroom, you could potentially just have more space. And the precast bathroom is considerably smaller than what this
And so does
is
it,
shown.
and that was my next question. From a proximity standpoint, would it be generally in the same place?
I would think so. I don't think, I wouldn't think it would make sense to have it anywhere but right there at the pavilion. We have the bathrooms at the pavilion for City Park, and most other parks have
Okay.
attractions and facilities all located in the same spot.
Can I add something?
Would both of them have the same amount of facilities?
They would not. If I can add something, and while you think, Drew, to address your question, Alderman Ross, about like whether or not the space as the existing pavilion right now, I would say that that space, as you can see in the photo, is perfectly adequate. I think what Eric making this presentation was saying, and as Drew's pointed out too, like with the precast being slightly smaller, you would, and saving that money, you would potentially be able to spread that pavilion out more, but I'd say that space is perfectly adequate. The restrooms in this original pavilion are also larger, as they would include changing rooms for the splash pad as well. Like in addition to being a restroom, and that also will have more ADA options and universal design options, just making this larger option more accessible. They'd have like lay down changing pads and everything. And then, would you repeat your question, Alderman Rucker?
Well, I wanted to make sure, I guess, to be blunt, will both of these have the same amount of female facilities, stalls, and male facility stalls, or will one have lesser stalls
Yeah,
than
so
the other?
the precast bathroom just has two, just all gender bathrooms. They're just two single stall bathrooms, basically. You open the door, you lock it, it's for men and women, or families, or whatever. The exhibit shows more along the facilities of you would be used to, like in City Park. It'd be about the same size as the bathrooms in City Park, plus some changing rooms for the splash pad. The plans were initially all to build all of this all at once, and so this was all designed to go in at the same time and service the splash pad, so that there would be bathrooms and a change of facility that wouldn't necessarily be connected to the bathrooms per se, so that you could go in and out and of the splash pad and be, into a swimming suit or whatever, and not have to be in the bathroom area per se. So the bathroom attached to the pavilion is a larger structure and has more facilities.
So if we do the precast, then do I understand correctly, if we do that at phase 2, then when we do phase 3 for the splash pads, we wouldn't have sufficient enough facilities, and we would have to add, so even though there's a savings of $500,000 here, the next time when we do phase 3, we're going to have to add a number of facilities to accommodate the ability for a changing room for the splash pad.
Alderman Rucker, I agree with that stance. I believe Eric gave this option just as a cheaper cost for the city in order to make this phase happen. But I think you're completely right in that I don't think one stall for each gender is going to, or for each is going to be enough. Like, if this plan goes through as is, I think this will be our most used facility in all of parks. And I think that we should, in my opinion, I think we should have the restrooms to match. I don't think it should just be one stall for each.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that the precast bathroom is a bathroom for right now. This bigger structure would be, more in line with what the future need would be. You might be potentially needing to put more precast bathrooms in the future in.
Would the cost end up being higher, like going and adding afterwards?
Yeah, potentially, and the cost might. And yes, the cost for adding them in later after the fact, after all the prep work has already been done to the site, might be cost inhibitive in the future. But we just wanted to give the two different bathrooms as an option, just as an alternative. Any other questions on PNIC?
Not necessarily a question, it's more like a comment. So basically, the splash pad is contingent on the pavilion and the restrooms, because without that, there is no facilities for all the children or families that will be utilizing the splash pad, other than bathrooms that are considerable distance from the splash pad, correct?
They would be, yeah, there are already bathrooms down and down a ways. I think Alderman Hoffman described the look of those at the last meeting.
We're familiar with that bathroom, but what I'm alluding to here is, once again, the pavilion and the bathroom need to, since we're ranking these and phasing in importance, obviously, without the restroom facility, the splash pad will not be a success. So more or less, that's going to dictate that that splash pad is a lower rating.
Yes, and the way we broke them up, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, we put it in the order that makes sense to us. So to do the playground first, there's already playground there, then to add pavilion and restroom, then to add the splash pad. Because I think you're right, like it does not make sense to have a splash pad without restrooms and without shade. So that's our proposed order, that's why we put them into those phases, but it is up to the board to whatever you all want, what makes sense to you.
Yes, thank you.
Drew, one question. So I just want to wrap my head around the money here. It's a $500,000 difference if we use one restroom versus the other?
That's the difference in this. I mean, this structure is large. I think it has, 6 total stalls. It has, 6 total changing rooms as well. I'd have to look through the bid on that, or the estimate again on that. It's considerably larger. The precast bathroom alternative was a way to cut costs and try and get the pavilion there and the shade structure there in preparation for the splash pad. Thank you. In preparation for the splash pad, yes. We believe that the bathrooms and the shade will most likely be needed for the splash pad to be a success.
Sure. Is the cost of these so high because of how much you have to lay infrastructure for the restrooms? Because that precast bathroom by itself doesn't look like a $500,000 building to me.
It's 110.
Oh, the building itself is?
Yeah, the building itself is in the order of magnitude of 70,000, and we estimated 30 to 40,000 to lay the infrastructure to it.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
I was just making sure that precast building wasn't $500,000 or something.
No, it would be the precast building and the pavilion.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
And that's ADA? That precast is ADA?
I would assume so, but I can't make a comment on that. I don't know for sure. I would assume so, yes. It's the same sort of manufacturer that the state of Missouri uses all the time for their parks. That's what Eric was familiar with.
State Park has them.
Okay, I just didn't look at from just on the picture here, so.
This is, I think, 25 by 17, I believe. It's bigger than it looks there. That's less than an ideal photo.
One thing I do see on the picture, the accessibility symbol on there, so I would assume that they would have to be accessible. The other thing that I would caution everybody to make sure you take into account is that whenever we get to the end product with this project, the pavilion, the water splash pad, for outdoor amusement like that, you have to take into consideration the overall assembly use. The codes do require one facility per 75 men and one female facility per 40, and you take the total occupant load and just split it down the middle in half. So to say that we had just the 2 restrooms, we would definitely have to add more restrooms down the road to meet code.
Do we have an estimated time frame for each one of those phases to be completed? How long it will take?
I could give you a guess, but I don't have a firm idea of how long those would take. I would think we assumed that each phase would take either, if you did one phase at a time, it would be one construction season at a time. You could start it in the spring and be done sometime in late summer. Or if you were doing the whole project all at once, I think it might take a whole construction season. It might start in the spring and go all the way through the fall and be open by the end of fall.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next item for consideration is the city park pickleball courts. This is a carryover project. We are currently under contract for the slope stabilization in City Park to stabilize the slope on the volleyball, the former sand volleyball courts. And this, we originally planned with Cochran Engineering to do the slope stabilization. Thank you. Sorry, whoever's changing that for me. To convert the old sand volleyball court to the to new pickleball courts. The original plan and bid was over budget, so we pulled out the slope stabilization, and it is bid and under contract. The total cost of the project of just putting in the pickleball courts would be $160,000. And I have a picture of where that would be in City Park. So those are the baseball fields. On the right is the fishing pond, and the red arrow is the sand volleyball courts as they stand right now. There is some fencing around it right now, and it could either be taken down if it doesn't meet requirements right now, or it could be reutilized. I don't think there'd be a problem reutilizing it. I think it's in good condition, isn't it? It's in good condition. Okay. Yeah, no, there's definitely fencing in the project.
Remember, it was a volleyball court. So
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
exceptionally high fences around it.
Yeah, I think those are 15 feet tall, I think,
Yeah,
right now.
perfect, yes.
Yeah.
So if I could, how do you want to do this? Do you want us to, Mr. Okay, or just shut us down whenever it's too much, or? So these bids came back considerably over this 160,000. How come we haven't changed, if we're going to keep this, 160,000 isn't going to get it done?
I think the last budget, I'm trying to go from memory, I think the last budget was something in the order of like 180,000 to 200,000, and it came in over budget, I think, by maybe like 10% at like 210 or 215,000. We pulled the slope stabilization out of it because the companies that are able to do concrete flat work, which would be what the pickleball court is, are generally different from the contractors that are able to do sort of slope stabilization and excavation. I believe that it would probably come in right at what we have budgeted and estimated for, just because you're not trying to have one be the prime and then the slope stabilization guys being a subcontractor and adding cost and adding profit to all that. I think you'll end up seeing a reduction in total estimate when you aggregate them together.
So by doing the slope stabilizations by itself, you think it would come into this budget by just doing the pickleball courts, not lumping them together?
Yeah, so we ended up pulling out the slope stabilization, and it is under contract. It should start construction soon. And then if they are done and out of the way, which they will be, then having the pickleball courts being installed at this location would be much easier and wouldn't need the expertise of complicated excavating equipment. And they would just really need to pull the sand out, which would be done with easily, I think, with a loader or a skid loader. And then you would just be setting up concrete forms, which is a lot easier than trying to dig and chip out a failing slope.
Gotcha. Well, I've been kind of leading the pickleball charge since I was elected, and I'll just tell you that I've got problems with this being there and only having 2 courts. I would like to see this held off until we have an impact study done personally, but just want to, since I've been kind of leading the charge out there, I'm not convinced that just having 2 pickleball courts over by the pond is the right approach.
So when you say impact study, you mean
Well,
you're concerned that the location that it's being presented will not cause the usage to be where you think it could be if it was located somewhere else in
Correct.
the park?
So
Okay,
I
that's
think,
fine.
I think we might be missing, the impact study may come back and say, if you're not going to go with 8 courts and have something that's going to draw tournaments down here, there's no sense in spending $160,000 to just put 2 courts over here by the side. So I think it would just be better to have the impact study come back and then we decide, oh, that is right. Or maybe we want to go over to PNIC and we use the other field over there and build something bigger. Or I just think we're kind of saying, well, we got some space, let's do it. And I don't think that's the right approach, personally.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
All right, Devin, should we move on?
Yep. So, next will be Chief Davis.
Thanks, Drew.
Click or pass it over?
I can click, yeah.
First thing I need to know is why'd you move?
The big control box for the sound system is.
Oh, I didn't see it over there.
I kept kicking it every meeting.
I keep looking over and I'm like, where is it?
Yeah,
It
whatever.
wasn't anything Alderman Osteen has done.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. So the presentation I have is for the 911 dispatch center relocation. And the proposed, we've been talking about this for the last several years. The proposed location is to move the 911 center downstairs in the unfinished lower level underneath the city hall side, next to the Missouri State Highway Patrol's office and the downstairs conference room. The proposed center will consist of 4 dispatch stations with the room for expansion of one more station. The 911 dispatch supervisor's office, a bathroom, lockers, and a dispatch quiet room or decompression room that they could use after serious calls that we have. Next screen, please. The project currently, we're working with Dakin, TMI in St. Louis. They just had recently worked on the Miller County renovations that they did at the sheriff's office. They'll actually put together the whole project, including contacting and working with all our current vendors. We'll reach out to them. They'll get the bids. They'll do all the footwork. There are no initial costs at this point until the architect or engineers involved. It includes the construction, furniture, technology, and equipment for 4 stations. With that being said, you'll see it's on your tally sheet here. It says pick one only. We've also, if we choose not to go with the relocation, we'll ask you to approve the updating our current furniture and dispatch because it's in needs of replacement at this point. The estimated project cost is $440,000 with construction starting in 2025, and we would take occupancy of the new facility downstairs in late 2025.
Hey, Chief, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
My understanding on this project too, in the case of a catastrophic event, tornado, it'd be much more stable downstairs.
Correct. I think Carrie Bell and I were the only ones in this building or employed with the city when this building was built, and why it was put upstairs.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the position to even have input at that time. But ideally, the best location for the 911 center would be downstairs. Currently, like if we have a tornado warning or anything, all city staff goes downstairs. We leave our lone 2 dispatchers upstairs to continue operations while we're up here, or while we're downstairs in the safe area. This ideally will leave them downstairs and they can continue operations in the safety with the rest of us.
And I wanted to bring that up just so everybody knows. I mean, I'm totally for this. Safety reasons. Also, we talked, during some of the catastrophic events we had, of course, the last few months too, that you never know when this place will be hit, and that would be a stable place down there for the staff and getting emergency information out.
Anybody have any questions?
Alderman Ross, yeah.
So Chief, how is this console that we would be upgrading different than what we purchased 4 or 5 years ago? I don't know, it was like $750,000 or something?
So that was the radio system. This is the furniture. So
Okay.
they're the desk that all the equipment sits on.
Okay.
It raises and lowers so they can stand or sit in a chair, whichever's,
Okay.
when they're in there for 12 hours, a little bit of movement is essential.
Okay, and then the other thing, are you going to address the public safety assessment? I don't see it in the deck, so, okay.
That's me.
Oh, that's yours, okay.
Chief?
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
To move the facility downstairs, is any of the equipment that's upstairs going to be moved down there?
A majority of it will be the radio systems, the storm sirens, the computers that won't get upgraded, all that would go downstairs. And that's included in the cost from the projected cost.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
What would the current office be used for after, if that gets moved downstairs?
That is still to be determined, but our detectives could move into there and we could expand.
Thank you.
Yep. Mr. White, did you have something?
Of course. Yeah, this is something that we've talked about for years, and I'm talking ever since I got here. One of the things to think about is the only thing we have between the server room that's controlling dispatch and our dispatch employees is a drop ceiling and a metal roof. So what we're all sitting on top of right now is a concrete deck. So if anything were to happen, the most secure place would be where they're proposing to put this, where we've got concrete walls on more than one side. That's all I had.
And I'll just address Alderman Barella, too, with all the additions coming to town, the Oasis, the apartments, everything else. I'm assuming our police force will need to be expanded and the space upstairs, I don't think we'll have a problem utilizing.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. I obviously have history in the emergency services, and I was, when I came down here as fire chief of the fire district, not with the city, that was the first thing that I seen that was rather concerning to me, because I visited a number of centers throughout the state and aware of it, and for one to be in that location was very surprising. And at that time, back in the mid-90s, it was like, yeah, this is something we need to do. We're going to plan on putting it downstairs. Well, here we are quite a few years later, and it's still like, yeah, that we're going to do it. This is something that needs to be done, and for the safety. And I don't mean to minimize the safety of our staff and dispatchers, but for the safety of our citizens. Because if our dispatch center is not available to do that, then where are citizens going to call in to get the help? And how's that help going to be disseminated out to them? That's the extreme value of this nerve center that is in a vulnerable area in the event of a storm. And obviously no storms, we're good to go. But we all know how that is. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one. Have we ever been affected to that degree in the last, since anybody knows we've been in this building?
Not in this building, no. The closest we had was straight line winds that took out a lot of Lazy Days Road back. I think Kevin was fire chief here at the time, if I remember right. It's been a while. Moving on to the police department assessment. As most of you know, we had a comprehensive study done a few years ago that it was more on operations, and it touched very briefly on the staffing of our department. Basically, it came up and said that we were good for where we need to be at that present time. As the mayor mentioned a few minutes ago, with the expansion or the the apartments coming, the amusement park, and the growth of the city overall, it was brought to my attention that we would like to have a study on our staffing, where we're at currently or where we need to be, and where we need to go in the future. And that's not just for the police department, that's for the ambulance, communications. We've also been, the last year, you know, Lake Ozark PD was wanting to come to us for police department dispatching. Recently, another fire agency has came to us and asked. So we'd like to see if where we're at, whether we need to add people for that. Salaries, benefits, retention of our current staff, our equipment, things that will, you know, lead to the growth of our agency. Alderman Osteen talked to me about this a little bit, so I'm going to turn it over to him and let him expand further on it.
This was somewhat of a pet project for me. The last comprehensive study we had on our police department was completed in 2020. That was based off 2019 data. The data that we utilized from that study basically is what dictates the current staffing levels we use 5 years later, or today. That also dictates where we sat as far as benefits packages, as far as salary ranges, et cetera. And once again, those numbers were dictated by data used in 2019. So I feel like we're way past due to get another comprehensive study done of our police department. This isn't just a assessment of the police department, it covers 911 call center and EMT as well. You see here is budgeted $65,000, but I've already gotten some soft bids on this, and basically 3 different departments basically would incur the cost for this. But we, as the board, decide we want this strictly for the police department, we want it for police department and call center, we want it for police department, call center, and EMT. Basically, it's kind of a pick and choose menu on it. We dictate which departments we want it to be done, and then that department can utilize 1/3 of the total cost, or whatever the cost is going to be for just 1 department, 2 departments, or 3 departments.
Bob, will you turn your mic on? Is it on?
So, it's not just, staffing levels to me is one of the biggest concerns, because once again, we're using data from 2019. As we all know, what has happened in the last 5 years of development here at the lake? Well, we've got 286 unit apartment complex that's already accepting lease applications. We've got the oncoming development of the Oasis. We've got topside condominiums that have been a new addition in the last 5 years. There's additional phasing going in at the Hampton condominiums. We see development really going underway now with the 141 unit housing development that we approved 2 years ago across from Cayman's Beach, across the cove from Cayman Beach. So our population and residents are expanding exponentially, yet we're still working off staffing levels from 5 years ago. So I think this would be a good assessment to say, hey, we've been working off, is it 22 full-time?
We have 20, we're commissioned at 26 now.
At 26, okay. They can come back saying, well, you're overstaffed. They can come back saying you need 36, you know, but we don't know that number unless somebody comes in and takes a comprehensive look at our staffing levels. Then it's a domino effect. What is our retention rate? Basically, why are we not seeing more retention? Why are we not having an easier time with recruitment? I mean, they look at all aspects on how that affects the police department. They also look at equipment needs. You know, are they adequately equipped? Do they have the tools they need to do their jobs? And if so, what are some recommendations there? I mean, I know we just had one done with the Public Works Department, but this one's a little bit different because it's more comprehensive and it splits over 3 different departments. But once again, it's kind of a pick and choose menu, which we decide what we want them to look at, what's most concerning for us. So anyway, like I said, it's a pet project of mine. I believe it's something that we need to have done. Another thing they look at is continuing education.
Is what?
Continuing education. I mean, all departments, et cetera, employees have required continuing education, but does that meet the needs of our community? Because those are set across the board for the state on a state level. Well, as we know, we're very unique down here. It could go back to cross-training for water safety. Maybe they need some more, you know what I'm saying, assisting through, lack of better words, drowning accidents, things of that where, you know, we are assisting on those type of calls, et cetera. So like I said, it's very unique, the education our police department needs versus other areas within the state. So it looks really geared to what we as community need from our police department. So that's my pitch. I would hate that if we didn't pass, that we wouldn't accept doing this, because I feel like we would be, once again, instead of being proactive, we're going to be retroactive, and basically, suddenly we're going to find the need of, wait a minute, our population's grown 2,000 in the last 6 months. Well, guess what? Our police department hasn't, and why is that?
Yeah.
Bob, or
50% increase in 6 months, so that's not going to happen. But-
Well, when I say population numbers, keep in mind, we will have over 2,000 new housing units in the next 6 months, and hotel rooms. And so, you know, it's hard when you think population versus tourism population. So yeah, we won't have another 2,000 full-time residents, but guess what? We do have some hotels coming in, new developments, new condos. That's going to get us at least another 2,000 people here every weekend.
Alderman Osteen, since you're leading the charge on this, are you thinking that we need an assessment of just the police force or all three?
In my discussions with city staff, it seems like EMT didn't seem to be that much of a need or request. They were more focused on call center and police department. But once again, it is our decision to make, because the assessment would cover all three at our direction.
Well, I would disagree. The chief and I and the ambulance director have met a number of months ago at some information that I requested based on the number of ambulance calls we had, the number of back-to-back calls we had. There's a whole bunch of information showing our trending, showing our summer trending, and I'm sure we've said this before, and I know this from the emergency services. This area is a nightmare to try to plan for. It just, when I came down here in the 90s and realized that the call load was lesser in the winter and up in the summer, that is very difficult to staff for, but you got to staff for it. I think that we definitely do need to look into the assessment of the ambulance service, the number of units. I firmly believe right now that we need a second unit in service at least 3 months out of the year, which means we need a third unit, because you got to have another backup ambulance when you have 2 units front line. And then how do you staff for that? That is not easy. But I did have some experience with that in my previous role, because I was chief where Six Flags over Mid-America is. And there's just ways to tackle that, but it's challenging. And it's the same thing that the police run into. So I believe that we need to take a look at the ambulance, especially with the fact of the order time that you need to add an additional unit. If we wanted to add another unit in, we need at least a year notice, because we need that much lead time to get another ambulance ordered and to reach out and get and the staffing is a challenge today. So we need to be really forward thinking in this, and I believe this is the kind of report that will help us not only with the police but with the ambulance services as well in determining that information.
Yeah, and once again, from the budget standpoint, if we move forward with police department, call center, EMT, then the total cost for the assessment then gets billed out between those 3 departments. So it's not like the public works assessment we had done, where basically it was $75,000 charged to public works. This goes separately, split up to police department, 911, EMT. So from a budgeting standpoint, I guess that may make the numbers a little easier to swallow. If it's $20,000 just to do a full police department assessment, or $20,000 just for call center, or $20,000 just for EMT. Any other questions?
So next is Drew. He does not have a slide, but you're next.
Engineering is requesting, that goes hand in hand with the request for 2 construction inspectors. Right now, the engineering department just has 2 vehicles. Well, soon to be 3, I guess, technically. The engineering department for 2025 is going to grow from just myself, the city engineer, and the GIS technician to also include the locator and with your approval, the addition of 2 construction inspectors. So the engineering department is requesting 2 F-150s to equip the new construction inspectors so that they can go out, similar to what the building inspectors do, go out in the field and inspect commercial development, residential development of infrastructure that will eventually come into city inventory, such as grinder stations. And also the capital improvement projects, like the welcome sign or the Osage Beach Parkway extension, and bring, so the trucks would allow them to be equipped and be able to do their job.
Drew, are these brand-new vehicles?
Yes.
Like 2024s?
Yes, I was requesting, brand-new trucks for the brand-new construction inspectors.
So without these vehicles, they would have no vehicles, or they'd be utilizing?
At this point, unless something is going to get saved from being surplused from the police department or some other department, no, the engineering department only has 2, and will be growing when we acquire the locator to 3 vehicles. One of the vehicles is a 2003 Ford Explorer. I'm currently using the GIS technician who's going out and doing locates on infrastructure as it's being discovered and unearthed and being constructed as a truck similar to this. It's just 2019.
Do they need to be trucks?
Yes, so some of the equipment that I expect them to have that I'm budgeting for in their supplies is like concrete testing equipment, including a wheelbarrow, shovels, potentially large levels.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if nobody has any additional questions, I apologize, I should have thought of this sooner. But you are correct, Alderman Rucker, we will separate these out. So everything that you have heard up to this point, we will take about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes for you to rank those. And then we'll move on to transportation, and those will be ranked separately since they do have their own funding source.
So everything from the 2 F-150s?
All the way up.
We'll just
Anything
rank
that says Fund 10 in front of it.
And where's,
There should be 10 of them.
10.
Now, also, couldn't some of those items, so some of those items can be used from CIT and some cannot. And so you will pick and choose which one from which, and then after you bring it to us, then we will
Correct.
discuss.
Yes.
And disagree, and.
Correct.
And if board so chooses, what you have under CIT will move to general, and what you have
Correct.
under general will move to CIT.
Yes.
So that'll be in the phase.
Next phase over. Yep.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the
And
process.
yes, and please understand that you could pick only one. You can either do the Phoenix Park Pavilion with the attached restrooms or the pavilion with the precast restrooms, and then either the 911 dispatch center relocating to the basement or updating the dispatch console furniture. So pick one of each of those. So technically, you're going to rank 1 through 8.
now I got it. Okay.
1 through 8.
And 8 is good, right?
8 is bad.
8 is bad.
1 is good, 8 is
I
bad.
feel like this has changed 3 times today. So 1 is good, 8 is bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Justin's used to ranking women on a scale of 1 to 10.
I knew you were going to go there.
10 being the best.
By the way, it's binary. It's just zeros and ones.
And then you can wait to turn those in to me until transportation is done. We'll just rank transportation separately.
I'm making my notes.
It's officially on duty? Right. I can bring the dog. That's typical.
Boom.
I crushed it. So it goes after somebody.
Pencils down.
Yeah. Why would they mind? Everybody didn't put down numbers yet. Why would they mind? They haven't put down numbers yet. I don't know, just a bit. Cancer came back aggressively. Gary Yoder. Name sound familiar? He used to own the roundhouse at the Antero Estates. Sit on the big pier. Yeah. Trying to step out.
It did, yeah.
I like ranking things, making lists and ranking. I like ranking things.
Where else?
10 lists.
There's two different funds it's coming out of.
Yeah.
I think, that's, you know, I think, I thought this would be time going, it's really difficult.
And I'm gonna keep, okay? I mean, I'll give it to you, but.
That's why I gave you two.
Yeah, yeah, so I say.
Just curious, but I'm gonna do it as if I was.
We spent 40%,
But that, two F-50s,
40% 50s, 40%
at least, this year, I'm ranking.
30 other,
Is it on?
20%, you know, in other words, kind of sets what we've never done that, and it's always been, because the first thing you gotta look at is even though you really want item one, or really wants it, we don't have enough money in general to do it. It may not be able to use CIT money because CIT has certain criteria. So even though it's like, yeah, we really, really want that, but we can't do it because it doesn't fit the criteria of the CIT amount, which, you know, all that kind of stuff. Sure. Because it's got, I don't really understand it. Gina had a pretty good handle on that, you know, being able to say, well, you know, it has to do with the fixed assets. I never did wrap my head around it, but.
It's complicated.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And like I said, it doesn't matter if the whole board wants it, it's. I can't. It's illegal. I can't. It don't fit the rules. Well, let's change the rules. And right
If everybody's ready, we could move into transportation. We'll take a little bit longer break after transportation so I can tally up everything from the sheet. All right, Zach,
All right,
it's up to you.
thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Transportation, we will run through these. The final slide does have all of them ranked again. So if you want to wait till the end to ask questions, if you want to stop us during it, whatever works for you. For those of you who don't know, this is Rob Long, Transportation Foreman. Item 1 on the list is the salt barn. This is the original roof from when the city took it over. Previously, it was used to store vehicles in. It was modified for the salt bay doors, and we currently store salt in it. It has not aged well as the salt has rusted out the tie plates. Some of them are gone, some spots look better, some spots look worse. Reasons unknown. There might have been years where there wasn't salt stored in some of the bays, but some of them are completely missing, some of them just show heavy wear. We did have Cochran look at it. There is some load issues. The doors themselves weren't engineered properly. Just a lot of overarching concerns on this. The load itself isn't getting supported from end to end like it should be. The estimated cost for replacement is $170,000. Anything you want to add on that one?
Just like Zach said.
Just for the roof, correct? Okay. How
Correct.
big is that building?
We hold 300 tons of salt in that building. It's full right now. I estimated at $80 a ton. You're looking at $240,000 sitting in there right now. It was a little higher this year on salt, but we got some in the years past. We got a little cheaper.
Thank you.
Is this I assume it's an all wood roof, or as much wood as possible to try and limit having metal that's going to rust in there? Is that the plan? Or?
Metal will rust. I think that's what, like you said, I think they've done it with wood to begin with. Actually, it was an old armory roof. They used to park armory stuff in there and stuff. And all we done was in the past, before my time and for probably a lot of you guys' time here at the city, they modified it where we can dump from the top our delivery trucks. And like Cochran said, it wasn't even engineered right to begin with. But
the new roof would be mostly wood?
My understanding, what they're going to look at is the galvanized trusses with the poly liner on it. Similar how, I mean, yeah, you think metal is worse, but this is, I guess, saltwater corrosion resistant. And we have tried to line it in the past to spray it, and that did save some time with it.
Yeah, just want to make sure if we're going to spend $170,000 that we're not going to have rust in a year. That's
Right,
all.
it will be salt rated or designed more for salt use.
Is there an issue, I mean, the rest of the structure is okay, so is there an issue with the fact we got to unload the salt out of there? I mean, the roof can come off and then the new one go on, or is this going to disrupt operations?
It'll have to be done in place. The salt can't move, yeah. So there will be an instance where there may be some precautions taken if it's going to get wet, so we don't lose that salt.
Okay.
Got another
I had some questions.
Sorry, yes, sir.
So I'm just trying to understand, is there going to be a new coating on the exterior side of the roof?
Brand new.
Okay. So on the pictures that I see where the truss plates have come, apparently they've rusted loose. If they were aluminum, they wouldn't have rusted. Are those, how would I say, those are not broken, that's just where truss plates are missing, is that correct?
Yes, they rusted, completely gone. Like that wasn't taken off. They just rusted till they disintegrated.
Yeah, I understand, okay, not a problem, I get that. I'd highly recommend we get some truss plates up there before we worry about a new roof. But that, I mean, I don't want the damn thing falling in or any kind of safety issues. When Cochran says that, what wasn't engineered correctly to start with?
So if you can see in that picture, there is one of the doors from the top, and this right here is the I-beam that they put in there. They ran it from end to end, and then they went and chopped out the section of those rafters that are in the way of those doors. So they ran an I-beam across the length of the building, and then they cut out those bay doors that are in the upper parking lot that you can
Out of
bring.
the I-beam?
No, the I-beam's there, then they cut the rafter tails off.
Okay.
To put those doors in their place.
Okay.
When you dump the salt, does the salt directly contact that I-beam?
Yeah, it does. At times it directly contacts the I-beam and directly contacts issues up here.
So how are they planning to resolve that? Do you have any idea?
I would say a loader and an auger or a hopper or conveyor set up to get away from that door issue.
And is that included in the estimate?
It's not. We're assuming that if this is done, this will be we're loaded up on salt right now. We do a load salt, we get the roof completed, and if we have to reevaluate the loading process, this will be done in the fall. We'll look at that in the spring. So we should be loaded up with salt before it happens.
Did we investigate what it would cost to repair versus replace?
No, we did not.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Moving on. The leaf vac truck, so everybody is aware, we do have a pretty extensive leaf program in the city. If you are on a publicly maintained street and you blow your leaves to the right of way, the city will come by and pick them up. Roughly Thanksgiving until it's done, 6 to 8 weeks, we are out picking up leaves, and that would be the bulk majority of this thing's purpose. Now, this is a single operator, so we will be using it throughout the entire year to go through and clean out ditches because we don't have to mobilize that whole trailer and multi-man setup. Right now, it takes us a 5-man setup with the truck and trailer units to go through and suck the leaves out of the ditches. From the cab of this truck, the operator can drive the machine, control the swing arm, and pick up the leaves as he goes. So if we're assuming that our current setup takes 5 people, a dump truck, and then the leaf vacuum, which we run, that's a cost of $70,000 for an 8-week period. One individual driving this truck, maintaining it by themselves, this truck can operate for $22,000 for an 8-week period. So there is some cost savings with not having all those guys wrapped up. There's also some additional opportunity costs because we can free up 4 guys. Those 4 guys can go do work somewhere else. The truck alone is not going to replace the entire leaf program, but it will help subsidize. We also have to have the trailers out there because right now we operate 2 trucks and trailers to get it all done in that 6 to 8 week time frame. But this will really help us out. All weather conditions, this thing can be out picking up leaves. Additionally, throughout the year, we can just take it out, suck out the ditches as we go. We could be using it right now, but we'd be using it right now if we had it. There's also a big safety concern. I don't know how many of you have seen our operations as it goes through the city, but you've got a dump truck pulling a vacuum, one guy sucking on it, the driver's trying to watch to make sure he doesn't run the guy on the sucker hose over, and then you've got 4 guys running around with blowers, dodging in and out and around this thing. So, you got to peek your head out around that so you don't get sideswiped or you're not getting run over by the vacuum at the same time. So there's additional safety here where you're not having people running around, no one's getting hit by the trailer, and so on and so forth. That kind of cost is, it's not really tangible in that, but we luckily haven't had any instances happen yet, but that would be a huge selling point of this truck as well. Would you like to add anything on that?
Just like Zach said, it's a minimum of 5 people to operate a leaf vac. That's a minimum. If we didn't have the other 2 departments to help us, we could not do it with my crew. And luckily, we got a good public works over there, and we all jump in together and we help each other. So this would help out a lot on that. And it's like Zach said, year round, leaf program's like an 8-week program. Yeah, we knock it out in 8 weeks. Leaves are still on trees after 8 weeks. So we would clean our right-of-way ditches out year-round on it, especially in the spring. Our culverts get plugged up by leaves. I can just send one person out there, then try to gather up all my crew to go out there and do this job. So
I got two questions. So you're saying you can use it year-round, and it kind of leads into my second question. One, are there maintenance issues with this? Like, what's the maintenance plan? Do you have someone to fix it? Is it under warranty? That looks like a complicated piece of gear. And is using it to drain those ditches out, and it's not just leaves, it's debris and whatever else has got dead animals, whatever else is in there, is that going to screw up our $300,000 truck?
Maintenance issues is the same as our leaf vac, you know. Yeah, there will be warranty with it, and when the warranty runs out, we just have our, whoever's that we purchase it off of, will have their mechanics out there, and they'll come and work on it at our shop. As far as like dead animals and stuff like that, that thing's got a lot of power. It's got a propeller inside that grinds it up, because you know our ditches are full of sticks,
right,
rocks, you know, and all that, and it just grinds it up and puts it in the vac. So that won't be an issue on tearing the machine up.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Ross, yes.
So a couple of things. One, have we, let's say the last 1 to 5 years, if you have any idea, and Rob, you've been here a while, you might kind of know, have we had any workers' comp issues because of safety and the way we do it now?
No, not at this time, no.
Okay. And these cost estimates of, and first of all, I applaud and appreciate the fact that you're trying to look at it from a cost-benefit standpoint. But the savings, round numbers of $48,000 or $50,000, is not true savings, because I'm assuming that you figured in labor costs there that will be used somewhere else. Is that correct? It's not hard savings, or is it hard savings?
Right. I understand. Yeah, so if it would be as if you went apples to apples on those 5 guys picking up versus this.
Right.
But with the assumption that those 5 guys are always working, then those costs are there still every single day. But
Right,
those,
so there's
those
not
4
true
guys.
savings, but there's not true savings. It's not like we're going to reduce costs by $50,000 just because we employ this truck.
No, it will be $50,000 to run it that way versus that.
So what will these guys probably be doing if they're not on this truck, if they're not on our current system?
Yeah, funny you say that. It's one of those things that, you know, to free up time to what else do you do? I mean, do we have a culvert cleaning program? Like, after this thing comes through, are we cleaning out our culverts? Are we cleaning out the actual storms themselves and not? So it's kind of another fall project. You know, the grass will be done. There ain't no grass to cut, and just preventive
So
maintenance.
that'll lead me to the question when we come to the assessment, do we need to, if we buy this truck, do we need to purchase the assessment? So just understand, you understand where I'm headed. And then I had one other question. I'm trying to remember what it was. I'm sorry. I can't remember what it was, so it's not that important right now.
Did you not say there would be staff from the other departments that you utilize during your leaf? So you utilize some people from water, some people from sewer?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, with that being said, then, that's okay. I just want to make sure that before I made my next statement. With that being said, with Alderman Ross's concern, that would free up them to get back into their own department to get more of the maintenance done that we've been complaining about that we need to do, that we don't have enough staff to do up and get a better maintenance program in both water and in both sewer. So even though it won't be a dollar saving, so to speak, but that'll put them back into their department to where hopefully we'll see more productivity in those 2 areas. Would that be a correct statement?
100%.
Correct.
Thank you.
Last question, I remember what it was. Is that okay?
Sure.
Do we have any idea what the estimated life of this truck is, usable life is?
No, I don't, but
how old are our leaf vacs?
I got a leaf vac that's a 1998, so.
It doesn't do anything quite like this though, does it?
It's basically the same,
Oh,
yes.
is it?
Yeah.
So are we replacing
from
a
the cab.
truck or adding a truck?
Cab back it is, but that's a cab and chassis, so you are correct. Yeah, I don't know about the cab
Oh,
side
so
of things.
we're replacing a current asset with this or not?
Not at this time.
So if we purchase this, we're still gonna have people out there walking behind something?
Correct.
Why would that be? I'm not sure I track.
Just the problem itself is too vast. The idea would be is that if it proves itself, Like, even if it takes 10 weeks or 12 weeks, it wouldn't matter, but to go $600,000 in 1 year was a lot of money versus $300,000. We use the trailers, we take those trailers and get rid of the trailers at the same time for another machine. We've got to see what the machine itself can do it, but I'm thinking
We
we're
have
going to.
2 trailers now?
We have 2 trailers now.
Okay, that part I didn't gather. I thought we just had one.
Oh, okay.
Apologize.
Wasn't one out of service most of last year?
Yes.
Yeah, and even though this is a benefit we do for the citizens, just my personal experience, we set out a schedule for our neighborhood, which we're the same. I think our leaf pickup was supposed to be the last week of November. It turned out to be the second week of January because we were down to 1 truck.
Right.
So obviously, this is a benefit at no cost to our citizens, but, I personally pay people to blow my leaves, and they're all there by November, but guess what? 2 months later, those leaves weren't even by the roadside anymore. They'd all blown back all through my house. So it'd be nice if we're going to offer this to the citizens, at least maintain some type of schedule, and this would allow us to do that.
Right. Yeah, and we have delays on rain and wind days. High wind, it's bad with the blowers, but this thing can do it as long as it'll pick it up. $300,000 budgetary number. The welcome sign. The welcome sign is getting constructed right now, or is under construction, and that is the frame. So the side parts and then the upper portion, the sign itself. This $150,000 is for the digital portion of it, just the lower half. This provides with the advertising opportunities, special event posting, public notifications, all sorts of messages similar to what we can see out front at City Hall, or maybe images from the Hatchery Park as well. Yes, sir.
So I guess I'm confused. That digital portion of it was never in the budget to start with?
Yeah.
No. So the right-of-way is currently owned by MoDOT. When we built and finished when we finish the Parkway extension and close out the project, MoDOT is giving us the right-of-way that is
Right, I'm aware of all that.
They don't allow digital message boards.
Yeah, they do
in the
not
right of
allow
way.
digital message boards on the
Right, but once we
right-of-way.
get it, then it's allowed.
Correct.
But the digital message board was, somehow I just missed that it was never in the budget.
No, it was the construction of the current project is just for the frame.
Okay.
And everything but the digital board itself.
All right, thank you.
So what's going to be there if we don't do the digital? Will there be a manual board that will be there?
So at this time, I believe it is just a frame, and I feel like there's going to be a hole with a framed-in bottom, basically ready to accept a digital sign, but there's no current plan on anything else there. It doesn't mean that we couldn't design something and put something in there, but as of this point, there's no placeholder.
Right, we could do seasonal vinyl banners or something that would fit that size of the frame.
Do we know how visible that is from the actual highway?
I do. I mean, it's very visible. It's right there in front of Harley. And it's strategically placed where coming from Camdenton in, it's right there.
Coming from the other way.
How far off the road? 50 feet?
It's going to end up being about 15 to 20 feet off of Osage Beach Parkway. As far as off of the expressway, it's definitely a distance, but I think it's sized the right way that you're going to be able to see it.
And it's on the turn.
Correct.
So
Yeah, you look right-
as you're coming down
you look right
54, you're looking at it, and then you kind of take that gentle bend to the left. So it's, even though it is 60, 70 feet off probably, you're facing it for a while before you actually kind of turn towards the water tower area on 54.
Yeah, it's very visible.
Yes, sir.
Is this similar to what sign that we have down at the park now?
In concept, but in size, it's huge. I think do you remember how much bigger it is in yours? Twice the size? It's twice the size of this one, but as the price is exponential on the size of those things, like just a little size increase grows drastically.
Just to give you some idea, the digital sign in the middle is 21, I believe. So 21 feet in the middle of there, I believe.
So I guess where I'm leading is the one down at the park that we have currently has digital signage on both sides. I don't see the value of this one having signage on both sides. Is the price we have here including signage on both sides or signage just on one side?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know this is in this transportation budget because it is an OB Parkway program, but this is always kind of like Mike's project as an instance, but I can find out for you.
And rough measurement from Google Earth is between 70 and 80 feet from the expressway.
How many?
70 to 80.
70?
Yeah.
I thought you said 17, and I didn't think that
No,
was quite
not
right.
17.
Okay.
No, I think we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't recall, and maybe, I'm not looking at my deal, but has this always been coming out of the transportation budget?
Yeah,
The sign has?
The
As much
welcome
as I
sign
want the
was
sign,
always-
I don't believe it should come out of transportation. We got a lot of transportation issues, but we'll move on.
Signal upgrades. This would be 2 signal upgrades. Currently, if you know, we operate 6 streetlights in the city. We did purchase a signal upgrade this year. Along with these 2, this will do 5 of the 6 we have as far as standardizing them. And it'll pretty much go to a single camera system. The camera, the controller, the conflict monitor, better traffic flow, increased customer service, just a generalized upgrade. This would be the same as what got them last time, Nichols and
Walmart.
Walmart, okay. So the one that we just purchased will go for the outlet, and then this will be KK and Deerberg's. The one that would be left was Hy-Vee.
Wait, so Nichols was already upgraded?
Yes.
And it just had a software update. So when they initially pushed it out, the Grid Smart was a brand new, and they went out to production too fast, and that's why we were seeing some issues. But then they just got a software, we just had a software update to it, and we haven't had any issues.
Okay, because I live right by it, and it was out a couple times this summer, and it was pretty annoying, but all right, all good, thanks.
Budgetary cost of 50 grand, roughly a little over 20 grand each site. This is part of the pavement maintenance plan, a mill and fill of the City Hall group, which would be Armory Chapel, the City Parkway, and Public Works for a cost of $307,556. There's a large asphalt patch on Chapel, some excessive crack sealing that's been done over the years. This does have oversized traffic on it daily just because of the location with Public Works and Industrial Drive. And the construction estimate is $307,000. We're not there yet, but as you see, it'll be on the lower end of our ranking sheet as we like to do a pavement condition index this year. More to follow on that with O&M. Questions?
Actually, since you're on this one.
Yeah.
So this is following the pavement maintenance plan, but it looks like we're a year behind.
Yes.
Okay. How did we get a year behind? Does anybody know?
I want to think everything was pushed off 1 year for COVID because the asphalt prices were ridiculous.
We had a year, and we had where the oil prices, I think, was up, and the prices were just extremely high.
Okay.
It's what I think that's what happened, Richard.
Have we been able to keep up with the slurry seal and the crack filling otherwise? Or
Yeah,
are we behind on that also?
We have, no. We're behind
okay.
on that. No.
That's all I have, thank you.
Columbia College sidewalk. Assuming the completion of the Highway 42 sidewalk, this will connect 42 with D Highway along Columbia Boulevard. It is phase 2 of the The TAP, it does rely, I would assume, on 42 being complete before we apply for this one, so we're out of that TAMP grant cycle. There is a chance that we could potentially move forward and get on this next year, and that's why this one is in the project. Just a good, too, as far as, you know, sidewalks are always good for the people, and I think, you know, with Goldie Pearl going in, with 42, getting a connection over to D, with hopefully the stuff with Penick Park, we can have a nice trail going all the way to there. So even if you have to come down the Parkway, there's sidewalks should connect all the way to the Parkway down 42, and then from D Highway all the way down 42 now. So there's hopefully, you know, we can get some good foot traffic down that way with connecting all of these sidewalks.
Are we on, I thought this was a shared cost program. It is, isn't it?
It's just similar to the Highway 42 project where I think you can do an 80-20, but we might run into caps as well with that one.
But even if it's 80-20, our 20% is 600,000?
No.
No.
We've always budgeted for the full cost of the project.
Okay, that's what.
So
just
if we
clarifying.
I'm a little confused. So the 600,000 is if we wouldn't get the grant.
So yeah, I think the way the accounts work is you budget for the full amount of the project, and then the 80% would be reimbursed and would go into a revenue fund. So we always budget for the full project and then account for the reimbursement. So the total right now, I think cap for a TAP grant is 500,000. So if that's 80%, then we might be on the hook for more, maybe a little bit more than 20%, but it wouldn't be substantial.
Yeah, but when we do that, historically, we have also, which I realize you guys are on the expenditure side, but historically, when we put that into the budget, into the revenue side, we would put, you know, some $480,000 worth of revenue. So what I'm asking is we haven't applied for the grant to do this yet, have we? Correct. So therefore, Devin, if this receives the rating to go into it, would you be putting for 480,000 into the revenue side?
Correct.
And then obviously, even though if that moved forward in that way and the board would want to do it, if we don't get the grant, the project would not proceed.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that's,
Yeah,
again, a little different procedure on whatever, but that's fine, just trying to understand it.
But Drew, it is correct that we would not receive a TAP grant until we have completed the TAP grant that we currently have outstanding, correct?
Correct, yeah. You can apply, but basically you get ranked down automatically if you have an outstanding TAP grant that has not been completed.
We wouldn't receive the revenue till it's done, but we would receive the approval.
No.
We historically have, yeah. Oh, yeah, we've received the approval. This board has received the approval that we were going to get the grant. When you look back to the grant project, we would receive the approval, we're going to get the grant, and we would go ahead and approve the expenditure, even though we may approve the expenditure in 2024, and no, we wouldn't get done until the end of 24, and we may not get the revenue until 25, but that revenue would show up in the 24 budget, and then it would be carried forward to the 25. So, you know, we would get the approval. I realize we won't get the revenue until it's done, but we would get the approval.
But for clarification, what he was trying to say was, since we have an outstanding TAP grant that has not been completed, if we go in for, tell me if I'm wrong here, if we go in for application for another TAP grant before that's completed, we're going to get pushed to the very bottom because we have one out there that's outstanding. Is that generally what you said, Drew?
Yeah, generally.
Right, so the
I
next
didn't
one's not,
understand that.
we're not really going to qualify for another grant until we complete the first one we've got, is what we're trying to say, okay? Or they're trying to say. But just for clarity, as far as the cost, assuming the engineer's estimates are generally accurate, it's $200,000 out of the city's coffers. Because it's 80% of the first 500,000 and then everything over that.
Oh, this has got a maximum 500,000.
Yes, that's the part that we didn't get told a lot about on the one on 42.
That's the way I generally understand it. I've been talking with Joni, who's the planning specialist at MoDOT for Central District. She let me know that the last TAP grant for, Highway 42 ADA, the maximum that we can ask for is 500,000. She did not expect that number to change. It's possible, but she did not expect that to change for the 2025 application process.
Moving on. Last but not least, Clean and CC storm sewer. You're one of two. It's got a price tag of $150,000. Currently, our maintenance program is limited to cleaning out the drop inlets. It has, in recent years, with the addition of the hydrovac, has helped us out a lot to be better at it. But as far as a full scoping cleaning of what we have to determine the condition of it, that has not been done. And we will focus on the east side in year one, just due to the recent culvert collapse on Summit Circle, under the idea that most of that corrugated metal pipe is in the same condition as it was installed in the same year. Phase one has estimated cost of $150,000.
Are you having to bring in a company to do that? Is that, or does it gets bid out and everything?
Yeah, this will be contracted. Just we have the camera, we have the hydrovac. We don't have the 6 weeks to do it. Or
But if we have a
6 to 8
back
weeks.
truck, we might.
Yeah, well, the hydro, the jetter truck, the combination hydrovac
Talking about
truck.
the leaf vac truck.
This would be more on par with the combination truck, the big truck that we have.
My point is that if we had a bunch of savings in man-hours with a leaf vac truck.
Could we free up 6 to 8 weeks?
Right, we have the camera. Would we necessarily then need an outside company? Because there's some real savings. I don't know if
Yes.
you're prepared to answer that question
No,
or not, but.
And I think it is a very good point. And how do we set that up in the fall? The camera, I don't see the issue with. It's the hydrovac that I see probably. But, you figure it's just going to be dedicated Monday and Tuesday to clean out culverts. It doesn't have to be wrapped up for 8 weeks, just a total project span.
Okay. So let me ask this one question, and I appreciate the fact that Jeff and I talked about this earlier today with some of this stuff. Do we have the ability to put a camera down a storm sewer pipe that our water goes into, but we have no easement or ownership of? And you may not know, no one may know the answer, but we need to, before we start venturing into some of this, we need to get that cleared, because I'm fairly confident there's a whole bunch of pipes out there that we don't own or have any easements for.
I would not recommend doing that, no.
Right.
Yeah, and there's the risk.
So we need to be very cautious about which pipes we head down, and the pipes that we need to go down worse are the ones that we probably don't own or have easements for. And so I guess just make sure everybody understands that we may not be getting into the worst ones until we figure out what we do own or have access to versus what we don't. The ones whether Dude Ranch, I assume, those that we put in ourselves and we put the storm sewer in, sure, we can go down those, okay? But, I'm trying to think Mockingbird and over in that area, I don't know that we can go down those, and those are the ones we need to go down the worst. That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay. That'll conclude. We did go through with the department and rank those as the department sees the needs, if that would help. Do you have any clarification where we stuck them?
Good for you.
Did you really? Nice work.
Good for you.
Thank you. I apprioate that very much, just like the election.
Wait,
I
one
appreciate
in-
the campaigning that goes on and the people that tell me how to vote. I seriously, I'm not being sarcastic. I appreciate your opinion.
Hey, Zach, if you don't mind, I want to go back to the leaf truck. If you don't mind, leave that one up. No, that screen you just had up, leave that there. You don't need that.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
Please. I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm going to. Just because I had this conversation with Mike Welty probably 2 years ago. And the leaf pickup, and I know it's a service, but I also know that everybody's tax dollars goes for that service.
Yep, oh yeah.
And there's a lot of people out in the community that do not utilize that service. And my question to Mike 2 years ago was, okay, we all pay the same amount of taxes, but how come all these people get their leaves picked up, but they all these people don't get theirs picked up. So I said, and he said, oh, no, everybody loves this. It's a great thing for our city, and we really need to do it. And I don't know, is it that great of a thing that we need to be providing a service? I understand for picking up Culvers and all that, but, and I'm just playing devil's advocate now. Maybe I'm totally, but is it something that everybody's tax dollars really need to be spent to pick up just some people's leaves in their personal yards?
It's a
That's
very
just a
good.
What's the alternative?
I don't know. That's why I'm just bringing it up.
My personal experience, and using just my neighborhood as an example, you would see a lot of burning, illegal burning going on, like large-scale burns because of the amount of leaves throughout the neighborhood because of the amount of trees. So if we do not provide any type of leaf pickup, people are going to use alternate means. They're going to bag trash and dump them on the side of the road. They're going to, you know what I'm saying? They're going to burn illegally, or they're going to burn fires that'll probably go out of control because not everybody's that smart when it comes to fire.
I understand, and I'm not trying to.
So
I'm really not
I
trying to-
questioned it as well, but I'm like, well, without it, what would I do with my leaves? And I would do exactly what I just said. I'd probably burn, and that would probably go out of control.
And what I told.
Or I would be bagging up leaves and putting them in my dumpster, even though that's illegal for my trash pickup, is to do yard waste in your bins. But what's my alternative? Where am I going to haul them to?
And I'm not necessarily suggesting we get rid of the program. I just didn't know. I was asking the question because I never utilized the service. But I'm thinking, okay, if it's my yard, it's my leaves, then why wouldn't I pay for the little bags? Why wouldn't I take my time or pay some kid to bag them up? Why does, my tax dollars have to go elsewhere? So that was just a question I wanted to raise, so.
Well, the other pluses is, number one, I believe there's as Bob said, there's a safety situation there of being able to get rid of the leaves from a safe standpoint of burning them. There's a health situation there that we're getting rid of the leaves, which helps in the health side. If we don't do it and the leaves, people don't do it and they don't remove them, then they're on our road. I don't know what kind of burdensome that would be on our transportation department when it comes through pushing snow if the leaves are onto the road. And the other thing, it definitely is a beauty situation because let me tell you what, when the leaves are removed and the acorns are removed and some of that stuff's removed, then they're no longer onto the road and no longer keep getting there and keeping being grind out and looking nasty from that. So I understand that not everybody in the community, benefits from that. But you know what? Not everybody in the community benefits from some of the other programs and I do hear it. I mean, I understand it, but I think it's got the value. I don't know what the value is for our stormwater sewer and our ditches and stuff. If that's, and when the water comes down that hill and the ditch is full of leaves and the water kicks out onto the road, erosion, I mean, there's just a lot of back and forth, and I do believe it's a value. I think that's where we have to look at it as a community as a whole. So that's why I've continued to support it.
Two things just real quick. I do appreciate you putting them into your guys' order. Did you mean to put 5 and 6 out of order or?
Oh.
Oops. I mean.
Oh, no, that's just how it is on your list. So it mimics your list exactly. So if you would go down your list, it just so happened that those.
Oh.
You put
those in
1,
order
2,
that
3,
way?
4, 6, 5, 7.
Don't pay attention to that list because I thought you had ranked them. I redid them in order. I messed it up, but I redid them in order because I thought that was your rank.
Oh.
Can't slip those. You can't slip that by me.
I had it so where you would, if you just looked at the list, it would be the same.
Yep.
Oh,
So
it's
we
not-
have.
It's not right.
Great idea. Total train wreck and performance.
We ranked ours as the Salt Barn is number 1, just because of the potential loss in inventory there. The Leaf Vac is number 2. Columbia College Sidewalk would be number 3. Clean NCC Storm Sewer is number 4. The signal upgrades at KK in Deerbergs is 5. The welcome sign is 6. And the City Hall Group Mill and Overlay is 7. So if you were to look straight down, it would be 1, 2, 6, 5, 7, 3, 4.
Very good. Good catch.
Yeah, I did that on the other two as well, so you better get ready to
Oh,
to say it on those as well.
Rankings are right.
oh, okay, all right.
So, and my second point, yeah, I was thinking that as well with the salt barn, that you've got a serious possibility of losing a lot of inventory, but I will say this, and I hope that this is, I think Alderman Ross was about to say it, but now I'm going to go ahead and say it. I would like to see a cost of replacement versus repair on stuff like this. You know, it's just a matter of if you can repair it for 50 grand and it's going to be good for 10 years, that's a better scenario than spending 170,000.
I just don't, I fear we
And
won't
then
get an
maybe that
engineer
one
to
can't,
sign off on it.
and maybe that one can't be repaired, but, you know, but didn't say that. The reason I don't have a cost for repair on this is we don't think it's even possible. You know, because that's something I know we're all gonna question on these things is, well, I know what brand new is, but what is it to fix it? So, but other than that, great presentation, appreciate it.
I think the building official can speak to that.
I believe you hit the nail on the head there. A truss system is an engineered system, and to have somebody come out and say, well, here's what you can do to repair it, it's going to require an engineer, and the engineer is going to have to take a look at not only the truss plates that are gone or damaged, but also the condition of the wood. Has anything been destroyed? I think you're probably going to end up spending more money finding, or I don't, maybe you could find an engineer to sign off on it, but I don't know that I would trust that one.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Just have one comment in general as ranking, okay? I still have had concerns for a long time that we don't plan well to maintain what we have. And as much as sidewalks are wonderful, I think our maintenance of what we have is more important than new sidewalks, okay? And so I just my pitch, if you will, that we need to take care of what we have first versus pushing things that we have that aren't as popular as maintenance and pushing new things up that we're not even sure how to maintain those. I'll leave it at that, that's all I have.
Now, we'll state the reason we've got the mill and fill dead last is in the O&M side of projects this year, and this goes as far as with all of the pavement maintenance plan. We look to have a company come in for around $8,000 and do a condition index on all our roads. So, you know, the last pavement maintenance plan was done visually. You know, we want to have the company come in with the hard data and tell us where the condition of our roads are at, what we should be spending our money on based on statistical data or the analyst stuff, instead of us just saying, hey, this is bad, you know, and then we're going to do it. This company's going to come through, look at all of our roads, and that's why well, you'll see this down here on the bottom, and additionally with the pavement maintenance plan, we kind of rank those as possible cut items for this year, so we can go through and then we can know, like, yeah, this road is red because of these issues, these potholes, this crack ceiling, this is that. So, and it may be an approach that the board doesn't want to see, and we can stick with the pavement maintenance plan and adjust but like as I say that, it could push it back another year.
Did you say that moving forward, they're going to kind of be ranked in order from the department heads or from the departments in what they think, or did Zach just do that on his own?
Did it on water.
Yeah, he did it. He did it for all of his departments.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, I think we might want to implement that in the future.
Agreed.
The trucks are number one for engineering.
What'd you say?
The trucks are number one for engineering, he says. So if nobody has
Too
any
late.
additional questions, we'll take 15-minute break while you guys rank. Whenever you're done with your green sheet, you can keep one, hand the other one to me. I will average the scores, and then in 15 minutes, we'll start over the enterprise funds.
Thank you. All right.
You said one.
This meeting is temporarily adjourned.
One's good.
All right, so 5 after, correct?
Yes,
All right.
5 after.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, you're done. Look at you. Good job.
Woody's drinks after everything I scored.
Yeah, the end.
Richard was down.
Thank you. No? No? hear the results of that? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on here, let me get my sheet.
I love
Get
lists.
your- Everybody get your sheets out.
Email them, put them away, figured I wouldn't know.
Okay. So for the general fund, the top portion, the first 8 that were ranked. Number 1 is the 911 dispatch center relocation. Number 2 is the Phoenix Park Pavilion with attached restrooms. Number 3 is the Phoenix Park Destination Playground. Number 4 is the
I'm sorry,
two.
wait a second.
It's
Number
okay.
3 was
Phoenix Park Destination Playground.
Okay, thank you.
Number 4 is the 2 F-150s for the construction inspectors. Number 5 was the public safety assessment. Number 6 was the Phoenix Park splash pad. Number 7 was the Phoenix Park parking lot. Number 8 was City Park pickleball court. Down to transportation. Number 1 was the salt barn roof. Number 2 was the leaf vac truck. Number 3 was the welcome sign. Number 4 was the signal upgrades. Number 5 was clean and CCTV storm sewer system. Number 6 was the Columbia College sidewalk. Number 7 was the City Hall group mill and fill. All right, so now we will move into water, sewer, enterprise funds. There are a few projects at the beginning. You'll now look at your pink sheet. You have 2 of those as well. There are a few projects at the beginning that are split between transportation, water, and sewer. And then the rest of them are water and sewer dedicated only. So I will turn that over to Zach.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we forgot about something on the last one, just want to thank you all, notably for the sweeper and then the new painting machine that we got. Huge ads. They've been great so far. All right. So sewer, transportation, and water. These are the 3-way splits. A fencing project we'd like to look into. This would include fencing and gates for the public works facility. A new fence around Station 53-1. It's at the end of Normandy. There is an old wooden fence, and with the recent upgrades with the Vapex, we had to remove roughly half of it. I'd like to put a new fence around that. Columbia Tower does not have a fence around it. I'd like to fence that for security purposes. The Sands lift station, the gate's at the bottom of the hill. We'd like to drag the gate all the way up to the top. So during icy conditions, when you pull in, you can stop, open the gate, and then drive down instead of either walking down and risking falling or sliding down and risking, or driving down and risking sliding through the gate. And then some miscellaneous repairs on the water and sewer side. Some of the well house, the towers and fence sites have had trees and stuff falling on them, and we just need to replace some top poles or some section of the fence. Just an overall couple brand new stuffs, and then just a couple adds and modifications. That was slotted at 111.
Hey, Zach, is that gate at Sands, is that the one that's right in front of Cars's house?
No, the Sands would be the.
Oh, I got the wrong one.
Randy's,
Sorry.
yeah, or Andy's, yeah.
53-1 lift station would be the one right in front of Carson.
That is it, yep. So that one had an old wood fence. The gate was kind of falling off the hinges. When we went and put the Vapex unit down, we ended up taking half of it off, doing a retaining wall, setting the unit, bringing the water lines in and the lines for the Vapex for that one.
Because the gate entry at his house is actually his.
Right, that's private,
Right,
correct.
okay.
But we have access, 24-hour access through
Right,
that
I
gate.
just, but we can't go replacing
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
The mechanics bay, no, this was talked about, bringing a mechanic in-house. We were busting at the seams in the building the way it is, and so adding that capability to it There wasn't enough room. Currently, right now, we would have that small section in front of the cage to do things, which we use right now during the daily operations. So we looked at what a mechanics bay would cost. And we believe that the cost of entry is too high with the $1.6 million price tag. I recommend cutting the project entirely. I think if to look at seeing what we're doing, if we were looking at making more room in the future, maybe a different building, a public works building or a different street building, maybe there'd be opportunities there. But right now to add that kind of cost in for the benefit that we would get, I think it's best to stay on our normal operating procedure. Doppler. So this is a software system that will triage all of our calls. So right now we receive calls from the office, from our radio SCADA, from our cellular SCADA, and from dispatch. This would be a dedicated human being call center that would take all of those calls and decipher them, see, places them in a ranking of order, of magnitude to see, the people answering these calls are water and utility operators. So they can ask those questions or get a better idea of what's going on. And it's like, it can turn in an on-call thing into a next day progress. So one of those issues, maybe getting people to sleep through the night. Dispatch is there, they're great. They're there 24/7, but, getting that other backhand knowledge of, is it just a leak that can make it through the night or does someone need to be out there right now kind of things, And there is an engagement piece that once the customer does call in, they can receive text to see where it's going. And then they can also add things, like they can add pictures. They can take a picture and attach it to the work order. For this $55,000, it will integrate with Cartograph. So, now when someone's calling in, either that's coming to us through an email or someone's manually putting in Cartograph. This will put it in the workflow system. When you complete the work in Doppler, it kicks it back out, and then it does the task on the back end and notifies the customer when the work is complete. So pretty much just taking all of our calls, streamlining them, deciphering what's going on, prioritizing them, and pushing it out to the employee with them not having to do, we won't have to lift anything on our side. Yes, sir.
So is this an annual cost of $55,000?
Yeah, it's an annual cost.
But it's $55,000 split three ways instead of $55,000 times three?
Yes, sir. Yeah, total cost $55,000.
Would this affect we got an email a month ago or so that we were going to request an additional admin in Public Works. Would the addition of this call center affect that need?
Yes. This was not taken into account by Raftellus. So when Raftellus did their study, that wasn't. And then that admin is still in the budget because of the recommendation from Raftellus.
Okay.
And this could help with dispatch. I know our call load isn't that great on y'all, but could free up them to maybe focus on other, more pressing issues than overflowing sewer and water. Next item on the list.
Question on that, Zach.
Yes, sir.
Did we investigate or are we aware of any automated systems? So where the customer could, it's coming now.
Right. Press one.
Where they,
Recording?
well, they would type it in through the internet, okay, the request, okay, and the information that could be done. Now, I realize you can't make it too deep, but I think that what you're going to find is people calling at 9 o'clock at night saying there's a light on down by my house. Okay, well, what's it doing? I don't know, the light's blinking. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's not going to be a whole lot more of, triage going on than that. So that's one of the challenges with this type of thing. I'm not so sure that we shouldn't consider completely automated, to tell you the truth. But
Completely what, I'm sorry?
completely automated? In other words, if you're going to report it, you got to go online.
Yeah, and we are investigating some things with, what's it called? Civic engagement app. And then there's also, we're looking into the website, using the website as well. So we're kind of trying to sort out all our options right now, what'd be the best. And this would be kind of an instance of this money wouldn't be spent, assuming it's, available for budget, but all those other things would be taken into account. Can we do this with the website? Can we do this with Civic Engage? Those kind of things.
This is not a capital item.
I don't think so.
I mean, it can be
It's a
used.
software.
It can be taken out. I think we have to make sure we understand that it's an item, I mean, I'm not trying to take away the value. It's just the fact that to use the funds out of water and sewer and transportation out of their general fund, but it can't be used any way out of the capital through CIT or anything like that. So it's listed here as capital, but
It's O&M.
it's not capital. It's
It's
O&M.
O&M.
The ongoing
I'm trying
costs
to
would
take away
come
the
out of
value of it
maintenance and
because I believe there's
support.
some value in this program, as Alderman Ross mentioned, but it's, the other items there, I believe, can be truly taken out of general portion, the general revenue of those departments are out of capital or CIT. But this one I don't think can.
Next item would be the Public Works bathroom. This has been in talks year, two, maybe three. Currently, the only bathroom is at the main campus, the building on Chapel. This one on Armory doesn't have. If employees need to go to the bathroom, they have to walk across the street. If they have to wash their hands, they have to walk across the street. There isn't even water access by the building right now. Increased productivity from those trips back and forth.
Across the street.
Increased morale. And by street, it's pretty close.
Zach, did you say there's no water there right now?
There's no water in the building. But, for those, everybody's been out there, in relation to the street department versus, it's kind of one of those things. It's not a big ask to say do it, but then again, it's kind of like, hey, it'd be nice if that bathroom was right there and these people wouldn't have to, run across in the rain or in the cold or, hey, I'm just got to go to the bathroom real quick. Let me just go to the bathroom and keep working what I'm doing. It's just one of those things that probably, I don't know how it got overlooked in the beginning, but it'd be really nice to have a bathroom in that building.
Even if they want to like hose off a garden tractor or something, there's no water out there?
Yeah, they got to go down to the salt barn, use a blow off down there.
You said the design is already completed, but yet you have money for engineering?
Yeah, similar to like the park bathrooms, there's money that needs to be put into the bid packet. I guess, assuming that we have inspections, we don't have to worry about the money there. But there's money wrapped up on the back end as putting the packet together and sending it out, putting the bid out, and then doing the inspection services. So that's where those engineering money, that money comes in at. That'll wrap up those 4 items. We did rank the Public Works bathroom as number 1, the fencing project as number 2, Doppler as number 3, and the mechanics bay as number 4. The assumption that if that one needs to be reevaluated, I believe, at that $1.6 million price tag.
Hey, Zach, on the mechanic bay, does that include the hiring a city mechanic, or is that just the construction of everything?
Yeah,
of
it's
the
the
bay?
construction of the building.
Okay.
I have another question on that Doppler, please. Is most of that for software, or is it hardware, or what is that?
It's just it's a software program that would integrate with what we have. They have a call center that's 24 hours, so they're still human in the process. But once it hits them, everything's coming through their software to integrate with our cartograph, and those are just kind of talking back and forth. The individuals do receive a text. You can, change the on-call. They'll get texts. They'll get calls for the people on call. Yeah, it's mainly, it's a localized call center. Takes all of our inputs into one and then uses software on the back end.
Contract so many years, do you know, or?
Annual.
It is just.
We probably could go more, but we could expect to see around $50,000 every year.
All right, thank you.
If I could.
Sure.
So for someone that went through a call center once, it's really hard to come off of one. Really hard to come off of one. And what this is doing basically is just hiring people to do what we already do.
Yep, 24 hours a day. So yeah, it's just. Any further questions? Keep rolling on the water. Caleb is on vacation, so he's not with us today. Neptune 360. So fixed base meter reading software. Right now, we go by and read the meters with a radio MRX receiver via the truck. Truck drives through the city once a month and picks up the reads. With this set up for the $155,000, they'll go through and put a receiver on Swiss Tower, Passover Tower, and Bluff Tower, and then it's daily reads. So every day we're getting a read with this system. The hands-free, it's just doing it in the background. The software is doing it. It's pulling reads, pulling reads, it's pulling reads every day, and it's building up that data. So billing department needs to do an occupancy change. Types in the meter number, that's the meter read. Guys don't have to go out there to the field anymore and read that meter physically. Also, as far as daily leak alarms, so right now when we go through, we only have contact every 30 days on those water meters. So every 30 days we know what's going on. So it could be 30 days that a leak could have started in your house, but we didn't catch it until then because that's when we saw the leak show up on the usage. With this, it's going to show you, we'd probably set that daily intervals just so we're not getting overwhelmed with the data, but it'll show you, yep, boom, this one's triggered a leak. Please notify this customer, they may have a leak in their house. I remember a couple years back when we had that big freeze, got with Carrie, and we ended up doing a secondary read of the system just to look for houses with leaks because we can't do it automatically now. So we imported a new read file and we went around and we found, about half a dozen, maybe even a dozen houses that had leaks inside their houses that we notified them that their lines froze and broke. So this would give us, hey, someone's going to come in the morning and see that alarm, call that customer, let them know they may have a problem. Hopefully they just left their garden hose on, but that'd be the benefit of this. So currently we do meter reads in the system. We do rereads with the system with this drive-by. Occupancy changes are done by hand. It's roughly estimated at about 16 hours a month. Those individuals are working. We assume the annual subscription is $10,000, which we'll never get off of. The annual labor cost of doing it the way we're doing is about $14,500. So there's, I'd almost say it's a net loss or a net even after the $155 initial investment to put this on. But we free up our guys we free up 2 guys for 2 more days out of the month that they can be doing what they're doing. We can provide a higher level of customer service with those leak alarms. If someone calls in and say, why is my bill so high? Bam, we can look at the 90-day usage and show exactly what's happening on that meter, at what times they're using it and what days they're using it. Yes, sir.
Zach, would you also be able to install sensors, I guess is the best way I can think of it, periodically? Let's just say you put one at the main going down Bluff Drive. Not that you're going to bill anybody, but it's going to show the usage. And then all of a sudden, when that main usage goes from, increases its usage a large amount, that would tell you there's probably, a leak in that system. Would there be some value in that? I realize it's going to cost, you're going to put some devices in the system, but is that an area this could help you with?
It could do that because it would be a Neptune meter using that, registering that usage. Be a huge cost just because of the size of those mains. I think a 6-inch meter now is $9,000. So if you're talking about putting an 8, a 10, or a 12-inch meter on that main, those costs would be significant, but there could be a lot of value added in that if you're, now you know what that whole road used. So now you can take what that road used against what that bulk meter said to see how many leaks are on that line.
I'm just looking at the fact that we have a lot of projected loss right now.
Right.
And had we been able to have a system like this in place that would have found it years ago, all the dollars, and I realize that unless maybe there's some other, and again, I'm not asking for the answer, but maybe if this would move forward, you don't have to actually put a meter in there. Maybe there's some other devices that you can put in on these mains that would help out anyway, it's just a thought while we're here.
Next item on the list, new F-150. With the Raftellus assessment, they said that we should plus up based on our preventive maintenance needs. You know, adding 2 more individuals to the water department would get us on track to doing that, turning every valve every year, flushing every hydrant every year, looking into more of these leak issues. By adding those 2 staffs, so we will need an additional vehicle. So currently they have 4 vehicles in the fleet. So if we add 2 more technicians, that'll bring them to 8. So that'll put 2 people in every single truck. Just fine, just limits the flexibility of the foreman. So by giving the foreman this F-150, we will take the current 250 foreman truck, move it into a service body that we already have. That will give us 4 service trucks and then 1 F-150 for the foreman himself. And assuming that we don't go with the additional adds on the staff, the F-150 won't be necessary.
Yeah, Zach, I got a question on this. So, you know, you go through the whole rigmarole of getting the Neptune 360 in here, and that is to help things get automated and have people out on the road less. And now we're going to add 2 more people and give them 2 new trucks to do less work because things are more automated?
So roughly 16 hours out of the month is dedicated to reading water meters. There's a lot more they do than just, you know, so yeah, if we can free up that time, we can give them 2 more days to do something, 2 guys, 2 more days. But if we're talking about turning every single valve in the system based on DNR recommendations or flushing every single hydrant or looking for this 40% amount of water loss, you know, that's what those 2 individuals be more apt to do. Yeah, the Neptune makes us more streamlined, makes us more efficient, but, you know, for 2 guys, it's not going to replace, you know, it's not going to give us enough time for what 2 guys would, the value of that.
Okay, thanks.
2-inch water main replacements. These are the ones that we're receiving issues right now. Young, Mulberry, Sumac, Phillips, and Guttridge. They all had 2-inch water main extensions done on them back in the day. So we ran the water main out a certain distance. The rest of that was done in 2-inch with a flushing hydrant. Now with our current design guidelines, 2-inch water mains don't even meet the design guidelines. It's required to be a 6. And additionally, that pipe is, this pipe on these roads is SDR9 HDPE. And Phillips, we've been repaired it 4 times over the last 3 years. Guttridge has been 5. Sumac has been 3. Young has been 1. Well, this should be Mulberry, but Mulberry had a full service line replacement done on it, and it's already had 1 issue. So what we'd like to get is that 2-inch poly out of the system. Seems like we're having a lot of issues with it, 1 on age, and I don't know if it's the loading on that 2-inch, and then just go ahead and hard pipe them up to move them up to the minimum main size and put a hydrant at the end, and that's where your additional fire protection would come in. At the end of these 2-inch extensions, there's just a flushing hydrant or a blow-off. And now we'd be popping a hydrant at the end of them. And this is where we may be seeing some of the water losses is with these main extensions on their 2-inch HDPE. You know, the leak on a 2-inch is going to really put out more than a service line. Project estimate is 270. We did rank this one a little lower with the assumption that Caleb and the guys are going to try to tackle some of these in-house. So even if the project itself doesn't take off fully, they are going to start working on them. And, you know, with the idea that if it's a board directive to say, hey, this is a 2-year, 3-year goal, those guys can tackle one in the fall and one in the spring every year until they're done.
Sorry? Is the engineering cost by bidding that out?
Yes, this is the cost to bid and replace these through contractors. Now, obviously, if we did them in-house, they'd be simple replacements just based on what the guys know about installs and in the field.
Thank you.
Yep. New West water system well. These 2 slides back to back, 1 on the east, 1 on the west. This was a recommendation from the water assessment. Each Each well, it has $120,000 budgeted for it for land acquisition and design next year. FY26 is 1.8. Let's make it $1.9 million per well for construction.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So if when we're ranking these for 2025, right? So we're ranking them based on a cost of the engineering. Is that a fair way to say that?
That is the money we will spend next year, with the assumption that if we're not willing to spend the 1.9, well, 1.9 minus 120, 1.6, it's not worth spending the 120 on if we don't plan on ever drilling.
Right, but we could do it 2 or 3 years later, and as long as we have the land acquisition and so forth, we wouldn't necessarily have to do it the next.
Oh, yeah.
We could do the actual construction 2 or 3 years later if we had to. Because one of the challenges that I'm having right now in ranking these, and as much as I think there's some very value in doing this way, is I don't know the implications on people's water rates, okay?
Right.
These are nice 2 things.
Yeah.
Okay? And until we understand those, it's really hard to, but we're going to take a shot at it. I'm not complaining. We'll take a shot at it. But that's one of the challenges. But if I'm having to rank something that's $120,000 for next year versus $2 million or $1.89 million, that's a different question. But that's why I asked it to start with, was the 120.
Well, my response to that would be you're sacrificing something else. So if you choose to do a water well, that's probably all you'll get done. You'll get none of the rest.
And I'm not sure we can do a well and not affect rates anyway.
Correct.
Okay, and so if we, again.
But if it's important, we'll need to look at that, if that's
But
what.
it's much better to decide that it's important, knowing what the effect is, than just deciding it's important and figuring out what the effect is.
Right.
Okay? Just from a process standpoint in my mind.
So if I understand correctly, the new West Water well, if I give that a 1, I'm wanting to spend 2.1, a little over $2 million.
Well, this year, you're only committing to the engineering and land acquisition.
Okay,
Anything highlighted in red is for a future year's obligation.
okay.
We're just trying to give you an idea of a full picture
All right,
of the
all right.
cost.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
And as a clarification, I think the west side with the Swiss 2, or was it Swiss 3, has the manganese issue.
Yeah, this side of town.
Yeah, and it would need to be replaced sooner than later so that we can have the right water being put out into the system.
Right, and I think it's just one of those, to Alderman Ross's point, how do we move that timetable? When's it going to be the boom? When are we going to see all the construction? I mean, I think there's a lot of anticipation in this room of trying to get ahead of it and be ready for it. Like, can we grow at the same rate as the development is? Yeah, we can do it. Just how do we phase that in over the years, But, putting the pieces together early and staying on top of it's going to help us. Yeah, which one's more important, east or west side? Next one on the list, Hatchery to Passover Loop. This was recommended by the water assessment as well. There is, so the engineering, that $62,000 engineering will sort out how it's done. The water assessment called out from Hatchery to Jayhawk. The engineers thought it best to stay on this side of the road. I see it as Hatchery to Passover, difference in perspective. Having it on this side of the road protects both road bores. There's a sewer line there already, which we already have the easements for, and it's already been prepped and site cleared. This loop will give us redundancies. So although we can feed Passover back across the overpass, it doesn't have the production to keep up with it. So if a break happens around Walmart area, everything from Walmart to the bridge is out of water. The only way we can keep them in is sending water back on Passover manually through the pressure reducing station. And it does it, and it works, and we've done it, seems like every year when that main breaks by Minor Mike's, but it doesn't have the ability to do it in the summertime. So this loop would give us the redundancies that we need. It backfeeds Bluff way back up here on the other side of Walmart. Oh, no, it's the outlet mall. So a break even higher up right here would cause all this to be out of water. But the loop would come up way up here by Walmart and backfeed itself. So Bluff and Columbia could push water back around the system, and you wouldn't even notice those reduced pressures or reduced volumes because Passover's trying to feed it. And those are the limitations Passover has. It can do it on a short term until we get a main fix, but Bluff and Columbia have more potential to backfeed those areas.
You said it doesn't have the capability of doing this during the summer. Is that just because of volume, or?
Yeah, it's a 150,000 gallon tower, and the well only does 250 gallons a minute.
Gotcha.
Where the other ones, a lot more water coming out of them. The sewer mains, end of Normandy, right past 53-1. The sewer and water mains the creek has eroded them and exposed them. This one is the water main. There's sewer, three-phase power that's exposed to. Emron's addressing their issues. This is a water and sewer split cost with the total cost for the project at 190 that would be divided by the two. This is pretty important stuff, assuming that there is only two lines. There's a water main that feeds up towards Nichols and Dude Ranch, and there's a sewer pressure main that comes out of them. That's a gravity main, but there's only one line going for each water and sewer. If anything happens to those, Nichols and Dude Ranch is out of water until we have the loop that's coming from Gulfview, and then the sewer, all the main sewer gravity's down that way to hit 53-1. So if anything happens at those creek crossings, Nichols and Dude Ranch is out of water, or all of the sewer that Nichols and Dude Ranch produces is in that creek. So the 190 split, two ways to lower those and protect our infrastructure.
Can I ask a real quick question
Yes,
on
sir.
that? Was that not already budgeted?
Yeah, it's been a long time, it's been a couple years. I think we ran into some easement issues with crossing that piece of property in the past.
I know there wasn't a construction easement, but I thought it was budgeted last year. So are there any, let me ask this for clarity of
Creek Cove or
process.
Runabout?
Is there any items on this that's already in a previous budget
If it was, hold on.
that hasn't been completed?
If it's been obligated, then I took it out. If it has not been obligated,
How do you define obligated?
so like the Highway 42 sidewalk, it was budgeted this year. It's not going to be completed, but we're obligated to do it. So I
Okay.
did not put it on the ranking sheet.
Okay.
So wasn't every item that was approved on the budget obligated?
Not this one. This one hasn't had any obligation
And I
to it.
think the ones that Creek Cove and Runabout maybe are the ones that are there.
Runabout,
I don't
yes.
think that Normandy, I may have been on there in 23.
I just remember talking to Lee Schuman, who said he was trying to get a
He's the one
construction
doing it.
easement from the cars, and that was very challenging. So I would have thought if he needed a construction easement, that there would have been a budget for that.
Guess I'm confused with what you're saying is obligated. If it was approved on the budget for 2024, and it hasn't been completed yet, or hasn't even been started yet,
Right. I included it here.
you included it here, even though
Yes.
it was, you're not gonna just automatically carry it over?
Not if the department head doesn't find it as a priority. Or if the board doesn't find it as a priority.
Well, we
Okay.
still need to ask for
Well,
that.
we did it one time, so it should probably be considered again at least.
Either that or come to us and, okay, new rules, gotta understand them. Previously, that wasn't the way it was done.
So it would have automatically been carried over?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's not the rules going forward, but that's what I'm used to, and I believe Mr. Ross is used to.
Okay. I was under the impression we needed to reevaluate priorities for a new budget, and if it didn't get done this year, we could look at it from a whole picture.
That's not the way my mind was.
So I would just say this, that if there's a reason why it's no longer a valid project in staff's mind, then bring that forward and explain that.
Right.
But not necessarily just, don't put it on the list for ranking because staff didn't bring it forward and we didn't get it completed or it's not obligated. That's what it sounds like we're doing right now.
No, I did put it on here to be ranked.
Oh, it is on here to be ranked?
I think the one issue we'll run into is Runabout. But I believe that was the only one that was in the budget. We just need to justify the funds rolling it over. Because we haven't signed a contractual agreement with anybody yet. But Runabout is in the current budget, I believe. But that would be the only one I think that's on this list that doubles up.
Well, I would just say in the past, if it was in the 2024 budget, and it was approved, obviously, in the 2024 budget, that I always thought that they moved, if it didn't get done for whatever reason, it just automatically went over to the 2025 budget. Now, at any time during that time frame, obviously, we're more than welcome to listen to staff saying, well, we've changed things have changed and we no longer want to budget it. But once it was on the budget, it rolled. So that's what I'm used to being done. And so I'm assuming all these projects here are new projects, and anything that's in 24 budget is going to get done 24 or 25. It's going to roll. Now, if that's the different, that's different, okay, I didn't understand that.
Ron, yes.
Historically, my projects haven't been as large, obviously, as Public Works, but if I had something that, let's say something came up and I didn't get to Project X, when it became budget time, I would be asked by the city administrator, is this something you want to roll over, or is there something that has taken priority over this that you need to just push it off for now? We've done that several times where we said, don't roll it over, I need to make sure that I get Y and Z done, X can take a back seat now. So they weren't automatically rolled over. I was asked that during my budget meetings with the city administrator prior to coming to the budget hearings with you guys.
I wasn't under that understanding.
I don't know that I was either, but in this particular case, I think you're right. I think I'm remembering back from 2023's budget when it was approved and we couldn't get this construction easement, so we probably did it, because it's not in 2024's. So maybe because we couldn't get the construction easement. So along that line of question, do we have any idea if we can get a construction easement now?
Good with where we're at with property owners. I think it's worth, knowing the problem that we have, it's worth looking into it. It's worth putting it back on the budget every single year till we get it done.
Okay.
Is there?
I would just like to ask, moving forward, since we've learned this, that I think that if that occurs, as Ron has indicated, the board said we want it done. And I don't think it's the staff's authority to say we're not going to do it. And that's basically what you're doing. We say we want this project done, and because things didn't work out, timing, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's rethink it. The board made a budget, and that budget is an ordinance, and that ordinance says do it. That's our authority to say do it. It's not the staff's authority to say, no, we're not going to do it. That's wrong. That's right. So moving forward, I would like to convey that's my feeling, and again, bring it to us if there's a reason not to do it. I don't have any problem with reevaluating, and I applaud staff for doing that. I applaud staff for not just saying, oh, well, we got to do it because it's in the budget. No, I don't want that message either. But that's a board decision that we made. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Understood. Creek Cove. So for those of you who don't know, there is a small road coming off 54. If you're coming from Lake Ozarks, before you hit Bluff Drive, or it's before the Parkway overpass right there. But it is a small unserviced community. I know there was a board directive in the past to build out the water and sewer 100%. This is Rachel Lower, known as the Holiday Shores area, and this is Pogue Hollow. So the loop would the water loop would connect Pogue Hollow and Bluff, which would help be a second connection point for Columbia, and then the sewer would service them at the most cost-effective manner of getting a station out there and getting it either up Rachel or Pogue, however the engineering sees fit on that. It does have an $864,000 price tag. Total construction cost split between two departments. And I think we've got, no, Mike always had that list, but I'm thinking we got Creek Cove, we have Runabout, Kaiser, Antioch, and that building out that system is almost complete. I think that's the four we got left, and this is one of those four.
How many people does that service, or homes, or?
Half a dozen. I think from the Google imagery, it looks like four.
There's very few down there.
Four, yeah.
Yeah.
Four.
Three or four.
That's the challenge, though.
Yeah, I mean,
The financial implications are amazing, but, they don't have water or sewer.
Well, and if we're going to go down that
shouldn't have bought
road
the house.
to do that, we're going to need a road to do it. And if those of you people don't know what I'm talking about, go over there.
It won't,
It's not much
what
of a
road's there
road.
won't be there long. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just one of those. Is it an obligation to the citizens to do it because the price tag is high? This is a similar instance too, Runabout. Blair's Evergreen is right here, if you guys are familiar with that. American Freight, that's that building. The city limit does extend out just, I think, half of this building right here. So this would be bringing water and sewer down to the end, which this one, I believe, maybe both of them, water or sewer, are in the 24 budget. So this would be a carryover or rollover of those projects. The water's in the budget, the sewer's not. The water is in the 24 budget, but the sewer is not. This would be for both of them, this $230,000, and would extend, and this one grabs one house, with the potential to grab the whatever's further down Runabout, but this would bring it to the city limits for one customer right now and build out Runabout Road. If we wanted to do future expansion, it is being sized accordingly. You know, it's not just like a little 2-inch water main extension. It's an 8-inch main with a hydrant going all the way down. If there was ever annexations or the need for other people to hook on, they could keep extending that water main out.
I want to speak on this personally because the one person you're talking about for 2 years, we've told we were going to run water and sewer to.
Right.
And we need to get it done.
And they are looking to get it done, hungry about it. Yes, sir.
I just have a comment. We shouldn't tell people that we're going to do things like that.
Say that again, what's that?
We should not tell people that we're going to do those things, okay? We should tell people we're going to try to see if we can get it approved. But, I mean, Maddie sent out a deal for a NPR thing about how to say no. Just because they want it isn't a reason to say yes, okay? We're talking about $200-some thousand for one person, the payback on that. And by the way, I believe that everybody should have water. But what I also know is that it's optional. We can't force them to tie into that water. All right, sewer's a little different.
Yeah.
And we know that there's many customers in the city that's had wells for many years who have yet to get on our system for water, okay? Now, sewer's a different story completely, okay? We can force them if we're within, was it 260 feet or something like that, that they have to hook up, all right? So we need to be very cautious about these water. Now, if sewer's the other, I see that it says water and sewer, but the first thing we started with was water. Right? And I don't know why we ever told somebody we were going to do that, all right? But that was probably someone that's not here any longer, and it is what it is. But we just need to be very cautious about what we're telling people, because we've been talking about Antioch and Creek Cove for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And oh, by the way, back when people voted bonds in for sewer and water at different times, they were told the city of Osage Beach was getting water and sewer. And guess what? Some of those people have been sitting there for 20 and 30 years, and they don't have any water and sewer, okay? So it's a tough balancing act. And, you know, all I can say is we may have to raise rates sometime to get these other people on. That's a tough call, because I know how many people are going to be sitting in this audience that night, okay? But that's the reality of the situation.
Well, and I can just say this on a personal level. I know that one person, and I know for 2 years, I've sat in on meetings where we were telling them, we're going to get it done, we're going to get it done, we're going to get it done, and we still haven't done it.
Who was telling them?
Well, I was sitting in on meetings where there was always a delay, but coming soon, coming soon, coming soon. So.
Should never do that.
So this was with the Raft-Talus and with the rate increase that we just went through, and with the proposed rate increase coming again in the beginning of the year, there was a recommendation to do a cost of service and a rate study. This would be a financial plan, which would be the basic element of that rate study, and would project rate increases for each year that rate study looked into. So if we wanted to do a 10-year projection on how our rates are going to change over that 10 years, like, you know, it's a maintenance plan, it's fixed. You know, this, as they look through these, this is where it needs to be at 5 years, this is where you need to be at 10 years, and how do you get there throughout those years? So they take an analytical approach into looking at that. And then in addition to that would be a cost of service analysis. So this was mentioned that night as well, where, you know, we have our base rates on our 5/8, our 1 inch or 1.5 inch, our 2 inch, and that's how the rates change through the customers, but on the volumetric, once you get outside that 1,000, it's the same. So this would be the idea of how do we set up classes where that individual that uses 7,000 gallons starts paying more for that water, or 5,000 gallons pays more for that water, and not just the average homeowner who's using that, $2,000, $3,000 to live off of. I mean, 2,000, 3,000 gallons to live off of. It's how does the hotel that uses 10,000 gallons a month pay more for the system because they're using more, making more money off them, they have a higher impact on the system. It's budgeted at $80,000 split between the two departments to kind of take a deeper look at how these rates change over the years and the customer classes of how the individuals pay for that water. Could it stabilize the residential side and just, where the commercial side, the bigger users, the higher impacts are paying more for the water that they're using? And that is the conclusion of water.
Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
sir.
For process check, I prefer to go ahead and rank what we have now versus trying to remember what all to rank after we get through another 20 of these.
Agreed. But you're going to have to let Zach tell you again, because that's
That's
not
fine.
accurate.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to go through that.
They're not lined up by his accuracy model?
No.
And the
No.
presentation is not correct either?
The presentation is not correct.
Okay.
So he will have to tell you again like he did on transportation.
So, based on having water to sell, we ranked the wells as 1 and 2. The west system was ranked number 1.
Wait, please. Okay, New West.
New west system well
Is
is
one.
ranked number 1.
Okay.
New east system well, the one below that, is ranked number 2. Now, the F-150 foreman truck was ranked number 3. If we were going to hire people, we need them to give them something. If we don't go with that, that one can shift. Neptune 360 was ranked number 4. Lowering the sewer and water mains on Normandy is 5. 2-inch water main replacements is 6. The hatchery to Passover loop is 7. Sewer and water costs of service and rate study is 8. Creek Cove is 9. Runabout's 10. So in order, it's 4, 3, 6, 5, 1, 2, 7, 9, 10, 8.
You missed 5 in there, didn't you? Isn't it 7,
5 is lower the sewer and water mains on Normandy. Did I skip that?
Yeah.
So 4, 3, 6, 5.
6-1.
Yeah. 4, 3, 6, 1.
4, 3, 6, 1, 2, 7, 5, 9, 10, right?
Right.
8. Yep.
Oh, am I looking at a different? Oh, did we remove something? Oh, hatchery's removed. Sorry.
4, 3,
The-
6, 1.
The slide I have on
2,
that is
7,
different.
5, 9, 10.
Okay. And that was, we've got the future, the unserved areas lower. I mean, it's one of those balancing acts is the items above them can help the citizens now. The wells were 1 and 2 just to stay ahead of the production. Then everything else was kind of sprinkled and as seed fit with the department. But that was the major concerns was instantaneous benefit and then long-term future use planning.
All right, question for the board and for you, Devin, looking at the time. Do you want to do the ranking for these 2 and then adjourn for the night and pick that up tomorrow night? I assume nobody else wants to stick around for the last part of it, but I'm certainly free if everybody else wants to.
I got a hard stop at 6:30.
So that's why I'm thinking based on the time, we finish
can-
our ranking, close it for the night and start tomorrow would be just my suggestion.
Sure.
But I'm open for discussion. It's,
Games are on for an hour and 15 minutes, so I'm whatever.
I'm good. Richard said he's got a hard, 6:30, he's got to go.
Yeah, and I don't know that we're going to get through.
No,
all
we're in a
that.
good stopping spot. If he's
All
going
right.
to leave, I would say.
Everybody
we're
good with that? We'll do our
Yes.
ranking and call it good for the night?
Yes.
So, all right.
We should have probably advised Devin, she knew at this, we should have let her know that the utility.
If this well's too high,
water-
but other than that-
Water, sewer, and transportation always takes forever.
Very good.
Okay.
It's always a heavy time for that. When I seen all of them that were being done tonight, I was like, oh. it's
Well,
gonna
and that'll be
long.
okay, because tomorrow night we're going over O&M for Zach's department, so that'll be all right.
All right, there's no reason for everybody to stick around after they do this, so what do you think if we call for a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, if you don't mind, fill out your ranking, hand them in to Devin before you leave, and have a good evening. We'll see you all back here tomorrow night.
Good deal. I'd like to thank you guys for the picture on the left. There's a hydrant saver. Breaks the main seat valve apart for them. Guys have really been not having to do that manually. It's super nice. The mini skid steer, and then this was that was the AC200 leak detector kit that we bought.
I'm sorry, one quick question I should have asked. On the Neptune system,
Yep.
is there a guarantee on the annual cost, or could it go up the next year, every year after that? I mean, do you have any idea?
I don't, but we do the MRX and it's fixed now. It has been fixed over the last few years.
Sorry.
You have a way to get all of them for all this
Zach,
stuff?
I'm sorry. I should have asked this earlier. I'm looking at the new trucks,
Yes, ma'am.
F-150. On the capital expenditures, it shows that two of them is 80,000. And then when I'm looking at the enterprise, it's 60,000. So why is there a difference?
One's engineering and one's.
The water is, I'm guessing you just went, the water one's a crew cab. Like with that, the water one is a crew cab truck with a
Different
box.
trucks.
Thank you.
I mean, with a toolbox in the back.
I keep seeing night.
Okay.
They could be different.
The inspectors won't need that, they'll just need a single cab, them and one other person.
Well, it's probably a silly question, but I just said,
Trucks.
okay, thank you.
So do you want these ranking sheets now, Devin, or you want us to hold on to them?
Yeah, turn them in now, and then she'll get more
And
tomorrow.
I'll make you a new one for
Okay.
just the bottom, for tomorrow night.
All right.
But I do the shirt for nothing.
Your turn, mine.
These laptops, then we just turn them off or leave them on or what? Yeah. Let them run. We got lots of electricity. Devin, are we turning these off or leaving these on or what?
You can turn them, leave them on. We're gonna, I'll upload the new presentation to it.
Okay.
And we're supposed to leave these laptops, right?
Yeah, leave
Good.
them. Yeah.
I don't want one.
I'll,
I got one, that's
we'll
enough.
upload tomorrow's up to it, so you guys can follow along tomorrow night.
Okay.
Hey, Justin?
Yeah.
Would you come here a sec?
Sure.
Have you by chance driven down, okay, Nichols Road, all the way down to the 21 houses are, and right across from that is this enormous building under construction. Before Jenny and Gary's house.
Part of the marina?
It's just as if you're going to Amherst. You know, there's a beautiful home before Amherst. And right before that first home is this enormous construction building. Check it out. Now, I was gonna ask Carrie, but I didn't know if maybe, Ron was. Just, I mean, obviously it's gotta be residential. But I've never seen, I mean, this is huge. It's gotta be 12,000 square feet if anything.
Well, I'll swing down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feel better?
A little bit. See ya.
Bye, everybody.
She's not coughing as much tonight as she did.
If it's over a certain amount, but in my instance, there were several times we did that, and there were probably because there were different purchasing policy. I don't know.
Now, but still, it's within her purchasing policy, but if it was in the budget, we approved that to be done. Now, if it wasn't a line item in the budget, it was the fact that, okay, Ron, you know, you've got, in this line item, you got $20,000 for upgrade of blah, 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 but it's not spelled out, then we didn't approve a specific project. But if we approved to have those chairs in